Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's happening? It is Monday, July the 11th, 2022, 6:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. He's Tony Michael in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is episode 158 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit Talking Volume 2 of Stranger Things Season 4. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live! We're live, Volume 2, Season 4, Stranger Things. What did you think? How did you feel? Comment in the comment section below if you're watching after the fact and let Tony and I know. Stranger Things Season 4 is done. We are going to be talking spoilers. Do I have my little spoiler sign? I should still have my spoiler sign. Oh, did I get rid of it? Oh, maybe I got rid of it. That's weird. Or maybe it's on the other one. Oh, well. We are talking spoilers. No surprise there. You can't talk about this kind of stuff without talking about spoilers. So that's what we are going to be doing. And so, yeah. Tony, how you doing?
I'm fixing my fucking wonky camera. That's what I'm doing. I need a new stand. Tripod.
Amazon.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So season 4 is done. It's in the can now. Volume 2, of course, the episode 8 was like 90. It was like 2 movies. You had a 90-minute episode, essentially. I think it was like an hour and 20 minutes or something. But you essentially had like a 80, 90-minute episode. And then you had a 2.5-hour episode. This season was bloated. I just mean that there was a lot of things. I guess maybe that's not the right word because usually bloated is associated with something negative. But I just mean that there was a lot. There was a lot packed in. They had a lot of time to flesh things out because of COVID, and they had a lot of time to sit with these characters. They had a lot of storylines. That's one thing that you notice that we all did with this season as opposed to maybe the previous seasons. Everybody was branched off. You had the Russia storyline. You had the California storyline. You had the Hawkins storyline, and then of course they introduced new characters, and things are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's more people that you need to deal with, and there's more things you got to do. But I stand to be corrected on this because it was a couple of weeks ago now when I looked this up, so I think I'm remembering correctly. Each episode of Stranger Things Season 4, now I stand to be corrected, but I believe each episode of Stranger Things Season 4 had about a $35 million budget. So when you put that all together for a whole season, the whole season was like $260 million something. I mean, that's like a fucking Marvel movie or like a Star Wars movie. So they had like a major blockbuster motion picture budget, and you can tell, as we talked about in our episode where we discussed Volume 1, we talked about how, things are darker now. Things are really amped up, the effects and everything. It was very cinematic. It was crazy. But now that Volume 2 is out of the way, I went first last time. Tony, I'm going to let you go first this time. What did you think of, well, unless you want me to go first, but.
No, I don't know where to begin because.
What did you think of Volume 2?
I loved it. It changed my whole outlook on the season. It teeters on season 1 will always be my favorite. But this season and season 2 are definitely fighting for position in that 2 spot.
So you're a big fan of season 2, which
except for the week episode with the sister,
which is kind of funny because I actually liked that episode because it was the most different. Like I thought season 2 was kind of a retread of season 1. And
sure, I get that.
Yeah, and I liked that one episode because it was different. But season 2, but I like that you like season 2 second because most people put it last.
Yeah, because it's the last season of that youth.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
The kids hadn't quite transitioned into teenagers yet.
Right.
They did in season 3.
Yeah. Now they're 60.
Yeah, now they're full blown into it. But this delivered beyond my expectations. I mean, look, I mean, like the sister episode in season 2 that to me I thought was dead weight, and I just skip over it when I do a rewatch of that season. The Russia stuff, again, with the exception of the fact that I actually watched it with my buddy and his wife, so I couldn't exactly skip over the Russia shit in this season, because that to me was so drawn out that I was just like, oh my God, we're back here again. Because I was so invested on what was happening in Hawkins and what was going on with Elle and everything, that every time we kept cutting back to Russia, it was like, oh, you're breaking that momentum, man. You're killing me, Smalls.
Do you want to know what it was? Sorry, before you continue, I think I didn't mind the Russia stuff, but I agree with you. I think it was probably it wasn't weak, but I mean, in comparison to everything else, it was probably the weaker of everything, because Hopper escapes and then he gets put back in. Well, no, he escapes. Oh, he escapes, then he gets caught and then gets put back in. Then he escapes again and then decides to go back on his own. Like, it was very sort of like they didn't know what to do. Like, they had to keep him there until the very end. So they had to figure out reasons for things for, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but yes, I mean, I agree. I think it probably the Russia stuff probably overstayed its welcome by a few episodes.
Absolutely. I just, and I kept looking at Devin like, dude, like, what the fuck? Now, I will say I had a moment that I wish I could have recorded. It's the closest I've ever come to guessing something,
right?
When you see a trailer and you're like, oh, I think this is what's going to go down, or I think this is what's going to go down, or, I mean, like when the Halloween trailer drops, everyone's going to speculate and everyone's going to be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
This moment in the teaser or in the trailer leading up to the show, when Eddie's on the trailer, I said to Devin, he's going to be playing Metallica's Ride the Lightning, because it seemed like it fit. The guitar that Eddie was playing, the lightning behind him, it seemed to fit the scene. So when Masters of Puppets started playing, I was like, son of a bitch. That's the closest I've ever come to actually guessing something, you know what I mean, in a trailer, and being that close to being accurate, which I thought it was a great scene. It's a great song that they added into. It's cool that, they're opening, the show is opening up the audience to Metallica, and Metallica has been very, on board and loving this.
For sure. They're getting paid.
They just did
I said they'd be getting paid too.
But they're also getting into it. Like, I saw the video here recently where they kind of played along. For sure. That you had the side-by-side shot of the episode, and they were wearing their Hellfire? Is that the name of the? Yes. Yeah, they were wearing the Hellfire t-shirts. Yeah. So I like that they're getting into it as well too. And like I said, it's exposing a younger generation to really good rock music.
Right.
I mean, they're a legendary band, and so the Max moment, which they were looking at me on the couch, and I was for like 5 minutes like, she ain't dead. And then there was a brief moment where I'm like looking at Devin and his wife. I'm like, man, I think they killed her. Like, I wasn't sure, because for a moment, the way the scene was playing out, I was like, damn, they went there. Like, and I was about ready to text you like, dude, I think they went there with it. And then, obviously, that wasn't the outcome. I did think of you, though. I had mentioned during the watch party that I had with my friends, I said, Dave called it. When Eddie dies there, I was just like, Dave called it. They played the safe card again, and they killed off a character that I think this time, with Bob from season 2, 3, whatever season he was in, I forget.
2.
I was okay with that. I think they pulled the trigger too soon with Eddie. I would have liked to have seen Eddie stick around a little bit longer. I don't mind if you're going to kill the character off, but the character became very loved, by fans. And I just felt like, shit, we're going to end his arc too soon. I would have liked to have seen him there with Robin and Nancy and Steve fighting to the end. You know what I mean? And Dustin as well, too. So when that moment happened, I said, Dave, I looked at Devin, I was like, Dave called it. They played that safe. Cause you said when was in the stream that we did a couple weeks ago, the recap of part 1, you said you felt that they were going to do what they've been doing, which is kill off a disposable. I'm not saying Eddie was a disposable character, but they're killing off someone that it's the pattern of the show now.
Yeah, well, but he is disposable because he was introduced in this season.
I just didn't want it to come across negative.
No, of course not. No, of course not. He's expendable. Like it's relative, right? So when you look
you called it. I mean, you did call it. That's what you said a few weeks ago.
Well, I'll leave that to my thoughts. Go ahead, continue.
At no point, the one thing me and Devin even said, I said, at no point, because remember, I thought Steve was in jeopardy.
We both did. Everybody did. Everybody thought it was. At
no point in these last 2 episodes did I ever get that vibe.
Right.
I'm like, he's not dying. Like, there was nothing that I felt that his character was put in a really, not like in the first part. This one, I just felt like him, Robin, and Nancy, like, no, nothing's going to happen to them. Like, I just didn't feel like they were in any type of life. Even when they were, hanging there by the vines, I'm like, something's going to happen. Like, I just didn't feel that the characters' lives were like I felt in that first part watching. I thought I sure shit felt Steve was going to go, but I didn't get that vibe at all. I agree.
He should have gone.
We'll dive more into the Max thing because I know I'm sure you were going to ask me about that tonight.
I have thoughts on it too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to get into all that in the first 10 minutes of our show here, but just kind of quickly, recapping it. I loved the showdown between him and Elle and Vecna.
Mm-hmm.
I keep calling him Venica, but it's Vecna.
Vecna, yeah.
Great showdown. Good payoff. Like I said, this season, with excluding the Russia shit, okay, which was, whatever, it is what it is.
Well, it just went on too long.
Now, when I watch it on my own, I can just, I can skip over it and be like, I don't need to sit here and watch this stuff. And that's not being disrespectful to the actors who are doing those scenes. It's just not interesting.
Yeah.
I was really invested on what was going on with the kids back in Hawkins and what Mike and, his brother, Will, and his brother, Jonathan, and their boy on their mission to go rescue Elle from that lab. And oh my God, such a badass moment too when she fucking takes down the helicopter. That was really
great.
Cool.
It was great.
Mixed feelings on how the doctor went out. I mean, it is what it is. It's like, okay. And then when she goes there and holds his hand, I'm just like, dude, this dude just like stabs you with a freaking, some type of tranquilizer and is trying to keep you there while you're trying to escape. And you're going to go.
But she didn't forgive him though.
No,
she didn't forgive him.
I know.
And that's
and I get that. I just felt like I don't know. But anyways, it was a lot of fun. I'm trying not to say too much because we're gonna do a 2-hour show here.
No, I understand.
So that's kind of like my quick recap.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, for me, okay, so I thoroughly enjoyed the season. I thought it was probably my favorite season outside of the others. But I think part of the reason why I think a lot of people really love this season is because there was so much time to develop a story. There was so much breathing room because of COVID and everything that happened, and they had to write these characters, and they had all this going on and that happening, and they had all this time to develop it. I mean, the last 2 episodes were 4 hours long. That's insane. That's ridiculous. I really hope this doesn't set sort of like a like an expectation that this is just what TV series should do now. Cause it's like, that's not, it's not necessary. You know what I mean? It's very circumstantial. It's very dependent. It is absolutely true that sometimes you can have a 30-minute episode and it feels fantastic and just right. Or you can have a 60-minute episode and it feels just way too long. It all depends on the story you're telling.
Did these feel long to you? Because it didn't feel long to us when we watched it. It seemed to go like that.
No, it didn't. It didn't, because of the multiple stories they were telling and how they had to bring everything sort of together, and the pacing and the way it was edited and sort of how it was paced out. It didn't. But that doesn't mean that it could not have if they had, paced it a bit differently, edited a bit differently, focused on different things. So that's what I'm trying to say, is that I hope this just doesn't start we should have every show have 9-hour episodes. Like, no. Because even the Duffer Brothers have said that season 5 is likely not to do that. This was very sort of special. There's a specific reason why they had to do it that way. But I think it is a valid point to make that one of the reasons why I think everybody's really liking it is because we're really sitting, we have that breathing room to let all these epic sort of things happen and conclusions, and that can really help. So it doesn't feel rushed, it feels fulfilled. Although they did have multiple endings, like it felt like the show ended 5 times, so there was that kind of thing. But that being said, I too am part of the camp that I think this is probably my second favorite season. My favorite season is still the original, is still the first season.
Oh yeah, you're not going to top
No,
that.
and my girlfriend and I we started watching it again actually last week. And I turned to her and I said, and I think I said this to you on our episode a couple of weeks ago when we were doing volume 1, I said, one of the things that is so great about season 1, and it became very clear to me as I was watching it again, is that season 1, and I made a tweet today in a Facebook post actually just before we went live, where I said season 1 captures, actually let me just read my
Sure.
tweet here. My tweet is, season 4 of Stranger Things was terrific, but my favorite is that original season. It perfectly captured the era for which it was paying tribute to, the imagination, the innocence, and wonder of 80s childhood. The show remains strong, but has lost some of its charm. It happens when kids grow up. So what I mean by that is that first season is...
I think that's why I give 2 that slight edge over 4, because
for sure.
what you just said right there
for
is so
sure.
important, because they were still kids in
for sure.
season. A little bit of that charm was still there.
Because that first season was all about good, like it was paying tribute to the Goonies, Stand By Me, Monster Squad, pick your 80s kids, movie, Stephen King, Steven Spielberg, John Carpenter, it was paying tribute, and that first season is the perfect encapsulation of what that is. And I turned to my girlfriend and I said, for years I wanted a Goonies sequel. I too wanted to see them back together again. And I don't want that anymore, because Stranger Things has made me realize, although, like I said, the show is still really good. It's still great. It's great writing, great characters. It's still really, really good. But it makes me realize that as the kids grow up, a lot of that charm, that innocence, that naivety, that Goonies, riding your... You lose a bit of that. Not that the show's not good anymore, but it's lost that perfect tribute for what or that perfect kind of encapsulation of that era that it was paying tribute to. Now, it's still good, and it's still 80s, but it's just different. It's more... And naturally it would be, as the characters age, as your actors age, you have to mature the themes. You have to get darker with the narrative. You have to take risks. Now it's a full-blown horror movie, for God's sakes, right? So it makes sense of why you do that, but in doing that, it is just a natural byproduct that the kids are, smelly teenagers now, and it's lost a bit of that charm. I swear to God, watch season 4 and then go back and watch that very first episode of season 1, and you'll go, oh yeah. Oh yeah, this is yes. You know what I'm saying? Because
absolutely.
And that's what it was, and that's what it was supposed to be. So, having said that, I did like season 4, my second favorite for sure, but I just wanted to say that I do think season 1 is still my favorite for all those reasons. It's just the charm, and also too, I found season 4 naturally, again, as you begin to expand and, you bring in more characters and things get, all these different storylines. There's a simplicity to that first season where we're just following this one group. and it's very sort of, it's easy to follow. There's a great mystery that's happening and all this. By season 4, it's like the teen angst and melodrama and we're here and then we're here and then we're here and all these characters and we're following. It's very big in scope and scale, and you lose a bit of that charm, and so that's what I miss. That's what I miss about that first season. So it makes me realize that I don't want a Goonies 2 anymore. I don't want to see Sean Astin running around at 50. I just don't don't want to see it. If there was a Goonies 2, it should have come out in 1987. You know what I mean? It's like 35 years past its due date. No Goonies 2 for me anymore. No, because I realized that, there's a certain age where it's like, it's over, guys. Teenage is a bit different. Anyway.
Well, that's what makes, I think, that's what I like about season 2 is I feel like it's an extension of season 1.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the kids are still kids. There's still a bit of that charm, even though I get what you're saying on the rehashing, and it's got that, whether it was thoroughly thought out, I don't know, but I do feel like it is an extension of what, because not enough time had passed
for sure
to allow the kids to grow up
yes.
to what we see where we see them from season 3 to season 4.
For sure.
But everything about this season, like you just said, it doesn't mean, and when I say I like 2 over 4, I mean, it's like this, you know what I mean? Because 3 is just like the stepsister that I'm probably not going to revisit very often.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because the more I've tried watching 3 recently again, and I just was like, I'm not. This. You know what I mean? Like, just I really no.
Well, and
wasn't.
Brandon Barry in the chat here says Top Gun Maverick is the exception, but that I don't know if he's responding to somebody else above, so forgive me. But that's certainly not the same thing. I mean, Tom Cruise was 20. I mean. He was 20 when he made it. It's very different to go from your 20s to your 50s or your 60s than it is to go from, like, there's a certain age, right? There's and
he's a fighter pilot,
right?
Too,
well, but there's an age that, like, and it's not the same content either, right? Like, we're talking about the what Stranger Things season 1 was again, and they've said this. They've said we wanted to pay tribute to the Goonies. We wanted to pay, tribute to the movies. Even though we're 90s kids, because the Duffer brothers they grew up on the 80s movies.
Yeah, I didn't realize they're like our age.
No, they're younger. I think they're mid to late 30s, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I mean,
yes.
They're in our generation.
Yeah. But they're 90s kids. Like we're 80s kids, 90s teenagers. They're 90s kids. But they grew up, watching those films and they wanted to, and it's just, again, I don't want to sound like to beat a dead horse here, but it is that childhood innocence. There's a certain age when you hit 12, when you hit 13, when you then go on to high school, life changes. What matters to you changes. You become interested in girls. You become...
Your friends change.
Your friends change. Things change. Like, there's that great line, and I mentioned it during our episode on Volume 1. When you watch Stand By Me, now I don't know if this is in the short story that King wrote or if it was just adapted into the movie, but at the very end of the movie, Dreyfuss is there and he's typing on the computer and he looks out to, his kids come in. Dad, are you ready? Yeah, I'll be there in a minute. That's what your dad said like an hour ago. Remember that scene, right? And they go out and he just kind of turns and he looks at his, and he laughs and he types, and I'm paraphrasing, but he types, I never again had friends like I did when I was 12, ... Does anyone? And what he's saying there is it changes. Who you are at 12 and what you're into and your imagination and the innocence and the naivety is very different than who you are at 17. What you're into, what you care about, there's an innocence and a charm that is lost. So it's not, again, I don't know if that's what you were referring to, but I wouldn't compare. We're not talking about legacy sequels necessarily. We're talking about sort of an age between real childhood and teenagehood. And that's very apparent here. That first season is lightning in a bottle. It is one of the best tributes to that era ever, period. It was so well done, from the set decoration to the hairstyles to the actors were just so tremendous, to the story, to the mystery, to the Easter eggs, to I mean everything. It was brilliant.
It's so well done that it feels like it belongs.
Yes,
that it's not a tribute, that it belongs in the
right.
80s,
It's
you know what I mean?
I couldn't have said it better. You're absolutely. It's so well done. That first season's so well done. It feels like it came from 1986. Or 85 or like whatever. Three. Yeah. No, I know it takes place in 83. Yeah. But
I have a theory that we'll talk about here in a minute.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So, yes. So I did like season 4 a lot. And, but, what else? Okay. So what did I like? I liked that they appeared to wrap up, 11's storyline with Papa. I think that was important. What worries me is, and listen, I mean, looking at it through the way that they told it, it would appear that he is dead. He should be dead. I will be very angry if he appears in season 5. I will be like, guys, you're trying to have your cake and eat it too. This is ridiculous.
Well, unless they do flashbacks.
That's fine. Yeah, that's fine. I'm talking about present day, right?
Gotcha.
It would, but I wouldn't even flash back to him. It's done. His storyline is done. We know what it was all about now. He asked her for forgiveness. She just looked at him and said, "Goodbye, Papa." That was her saying no. And it was that freeing. And even when that thing that came off her neck, it was like she was free, right? The chains were off, and she walked away. She walked away and she brought down that chopper and she was free. So that storyline is wrapped up. Leave it alone. Don't bring him back. I feel complete. It's done. It's done. It's done. So I hope they don't, but I like that. I like that. I was pleased that she didn't say, "I forgive you." I was worried that she was going to do that because we've all seen that in movies before.
Oh, yeah.
And you could have written it in there because in some ways it would have made sense for her to, like, it's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody like her could say that. I mean, it is all she knows, even though Hopper is her, he's becoming like her dad. At this point in the show, she thinks he's dead. And Papa has been there from birth. So technically, he is her father in a weird from a certain point of view. And it's all she knows. It's all she knows. She's been institutionalized. It's like it is like she's escaping from prison, right? It's all she knows. And so, I mean, you could have had her say, I forgive you, but it doesn't quite make sense with what she now knows, what we saw her, the realization that she's come to and all that. She's angry. She's pissed off. She's been had. And she's been had, essentially because of his own personal things. And I know you could make the argument and say, well, he was just trying to protect her. Well, sure. Yes, he was. And let's not pretend that it was all innocent and it was all pure and, virtuous. No, Dr. Brenner wasn't virtuous. No, I mean, he's fucking doing mind control experiments on little children. He's abusing kids, for Christ's sakes.
Oh, when we were watching it, I was yelling at the TV when she's standing there and he's standing in front of her. I'm like, kill him. Just kill him.
Yeah.
Get it over with.
I mean, that doesn't mean that he didn't want to take care of her or didn't take care of her or didn't do nice things. Of course, that doesn't mean he didn't do nice things on occasion or whatever. But at the end of the day, no, he's a terrible person. I mean, really, at the end of the day. So, and that's why she didn't forgive him, was because it's like, no, I'm not going to buy into this now. I'm not going to buy in. I know what you're doing, Papa, and I'm not going to do it. And Millie Bobby Brown is a terrific actress, and she sold it. And just looking down at him with those eyes and just looking and looking and looking and then just saying goodbye. I'm glad they wrote it that way. I'm glad they did. So, and of course, yeah, the shot of her bringing down the chopper was great. That was epic.
That was fucking awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Yeah. It was a lot of fun. And then I really appreciate I appreciate what they're doing with Will. There's two ways that you could look at this. So you could look.
Oh yeah,
you could look at this.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you could look at this and say, okay, so it's 2022. And, you know, there are certain people out there that could say, well, I guess we have to have a gay character. You know, I get that. Like, I understand it. There's no doubt we live in a world now where we are overcompensating and we are trying to fill gaps and needs where there aren't any and nobody's asking for anything and you don't have to do. That does exist. That being said, I'm not against what they're doing with Will because of the way they've written his character. It does feel.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about the ending when he gets back to town and how he's still connected.
No. Well, there's that, but I'm talking about obviously his sexuality and how they are hinting very clearly that he's gay. And the thing that I appreciate about it is that, first of all, Noah Schnapp, whatever his name is. He's a terrific actor. And I think he's done a really good job at portraying this. And, you know, it is 1986, and it was at a time when you didn't just come out and say you were gay. It was a very, very different time, which I appreciate. And I do like what they've I wish that he could have more to do. I think that I don't just want that to become his whole identity, that when I think about him, he's just the guy that's struggling to come out. But I do appreciate his performance. I appreciate the nuance of the writing and how they are making it matter. They're making it matter and what he's dealing with and all that kind of stuff. And so I appreciate that. I do appreciate that. And having just started watching season 1 again, I realized that they planted this seed very early. Now, there was no guarantees that when they did season 1 that there would be a season 2. So you could just say this and you would not know whether he would grow up to be gay or not. It's just he's a sensitive kid. But when Winona Ryder's character, Joyce, is talking about Will being missing to Hopper in his office in episode 1 of season 1. I'm paraphrasing, but they're talking about Will and Joyce is saying something to the effect of, "Oh, Hopper, you know, he's a sensitive boy. You know, he's people, you know, so and so called him queer and you know, little Stevie John down the street called him a fag." You know, whatever, and this kind of stuff, right? And that's exactly how she said it. She goes like, you know, she says it under her breath.
Yeah,
she's like, call them
or a show. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she's saying it under, you know, her breath. And so again, if there was only that one season and Stranger Things was not a hit, we all knew sensitive kids growing up that did not grow up to be gay, but maybe they're queer, you know, whatever, right? You know, you hear people saying that kind of shit, right? You know, and it wasn't very nice and it was very mean. And, but we all knew, you know, kids like that who didn't grow up to be gay at all, right? So you could just assume, oh, well, it's because he's emotionally sensitive, more sensitive maybe than others. And that is, especially back then, you and I, you know, grew up through that. We knew that kind of shit. It was very, I mean, you just had to have, you know, something wrong with your eyebrow and kids were mean to you. You know what I mean? It was crazy. So, but what's cool about that now, whether it was intentional or not, is that now they can play into that. They did actually set that up right from the get-go. And now they're actually playing into that sensitivity. And now that he has what am I trying to say? He's struggling with this. And he obviously is, at least I'm assuming, probably attracted to Mike. Maybe he's had feelings for Mike for a long time. And obviously Mike is not gay and was, you know, is with Eleven. And we see Will struggle with that. And when he's talking to Mike in the back of the van, it's very much about him talking about himself, you know, about being different and all this kind of stuff. And you need to tell Eleven that you love her and all that. And now it's not 100% yet that they're going to reveal that he has feelings for Mike. Maybe he doesn't. But it's certainly, there's strong circumstantial evidence to suggest that he very well could. But the point I'm making is that I do like that they are at least writing it well and making it matter. Making it matter. It's not just, it doesn't feel like a quota that's being filled. It feels like it's part of the DNA of the character. It feels natural and organic. And I appreciate that. Because If it's just like, oh, by the way, I'm gay, you're like, oh, okay, check. You know what I mean? And you don't want that. You want it to feel genuine and organic. So I appreciate that. To your point, though, too, I did.
Yeah, because I didn't even think of that until you just talked about it. Now, like even in watching the show, I think because, like you said, the way they wrote it, it was so organically done that I didn't, when we were watching, I'm thinking none of us said anything about it. Even the conversation, I remember now when you brought up the conversation he has with Mike in the back of the car that, I guess you're right. He is referring to himself. Yeah. But as a viewer watching it, it didn't faze me because my mind wasn't even going there. Like, oh, this is being forced in about his sexuality. Like, right. Because it's so well done.
It's so well done.
Until you just brought it up, I wasn't even thinking that. I thought when you brought up Will, I was thinking like the tingling sensation he gets on his neck at the end there with the remix of the theme song.
Yep.
He's back in, when they're back in Hawkins. Yes. So that just goes to show you how well they wrote his character, because
that's it. And that's all anybody, like, no, I mean, I can't speak for anybody else, obviously, but that's what you want to do. You want to have it matter. You don't want to have, like a quota is being filled. Oh, it's 2022, so we have to have the gay character. You have Robin, who's gay, and she came out in the bathroom with Steve in season 3, and that was very kind of like, I'm gay. You know what I mean? Not that it didn't matter, but I'm just saying you already have that. You don't need that, but it's written really well. I much prefer what they're doing with Will than say what they did with Robin. Not that what they did with Robin was bad or anything. I like that they're making it matter.
The way Maya plays it, she plays it off so well.
She does. She's great. She's great. She's everything awesome. Is great about it. It feels, you want it to feel organic. It's you don't want to feel like you're just shoehorning something in because, you got to please somebody. It's like, well, no, make it matter, man. Make it matter. And when Will turns and looks out the window and he begins to cry, it's because now, again, I don't know for sure. We don't know yet if he has feelings for Mike, but obviously Will would know that, well, I can't. I mean, he's not going to be into me because he's straight and he's into, and that must be a really difficult thing, a tough thing for that character.
What I'm hoping for in the final season, I hope we don't get like a 90210 thing, Dylan, Brenda, Kelly love triangle. Like, is Mike is Mike gonna go for Will, or is he gonna stay with, like, please don't. Like, if anything, I would much prefer, since we're having a time jump here and the kids are gonna be older when they do season 5, maybe give Will his own interest. You know what I mean? Like, don't create a love triangle thing now. Like, I don't need that in Stranger Things. You know what I mean? Like, if anything, I would feel more happier for the character that he was able to overcome those feelings for Mike, and he finds somebody else, and Mike's still got Elle, and everyone's happy. If you do this 90210 love triangle thing, I'm like,
no, I don't think they will.
Don't do that.
No, I don't think they will. I think because you see what Will is really struggling with is not just that he may, and again, we don't know for sure. It looks like it. You can certainly make that correlation, but the Duffer Brothers haven't fully mentioned it yet. So we don't know that. It looks like he may have feelings for Mike, and maybe he's had them for a long time. Okay. But let's say that's true. But in reality, what the struggle really is the coming out in and of itself. Because it's 1986.
Yeah, that's true.
And that really is it. So you can actually complete Will's, gay arc, if you want, by him just coming out and being accepted by everybody and being loved and being okay. Like his brother knows, Jonathan knows. That's why he said to him, right? Yes, exactly. If you need to talk to me, I'm here for you, man. I'm here. He knows for sure. And that's what it's really all about. At least you can. You don't even have to do anything with Mike, because Mike is straight, and we know that, and you know what I mean? But really, Will's struggle is just being feared of not being accepted or liked because he's different. And if you can complete that arc to the point where you get to a point where he is accepted, even though he is different, then you've done it. And you don't have to worry about anything with Mike or anything like that. Because no, you're right. It would make no sense. It would make no sense if Mike all of a sudden felt, maybe I will go with, no. That's not, I don't believe that.
even
That's just
something
silly.
is so simple and subtle, like they did at this end of this with Robin and that girl
Right.
that she's interested in.
Right.
You know, they didn't go into a full-blown romance, but the subtlety of that scene and how happy Robin was and Steve looking at her and he's happy for his friend.
Right.
Even something as subtle as that,
Correct.
if they did that for Will.
Correct. 100%. So I appreciate that. I'm sure we'll get more of that in season 5. I do like the fact that they harken back to Will's little goosebumps on his neck, like you were saying, where he turns it.
Yeah, that was really cool.
He's obviously got some connection with the Mind Flayer and you know, Vecna or whatever. I mean, and what's really interesting is, I don't know if this was on purpose, but again, because I was watching season 1 again, that very first episode, when Will he was such a, they all were, they all were fucking
babies.
Oh my God. I'm sitting there and I'm like, these kids are fucking adorable. Like, they're so cute. And of course they make them look like they're from the 80s. So they got these 80s haircuts, right? Like Will looks so cute. Anyway, so he's riding his bike, right? And, he's the only one left. Season 1, episode 1, you know, yeah, season 1, episode 1, he's riding. And then there's that quick shot of that creature in the road that turns around, but it's really fast. It's really quick and really fast. If you look at what Vecna looks like, and you pause at that moment and you look at that creature, it looks like Vecna. And I mean, I don't know if that's just a happy accident, a Bob Ross happy accident, or if it was intentional, because obviously they might have had ideas, but there was no guarantee that season 1 was going to be a hit and they'd even do a season 2. They've even said that. So, did they plant that really early? I don't know. I have no idea, but I'll tell you, the connective tissue is shaping up quite impressively if it is. So it may have even been Vecna that took him and not
the Demogorgon.
Right, because it looked very, like the way it turned around, had those long hands with the fingers and turned around and shit. It just looked very Vecna-like. And I was like, ooh, that's interesting. So I appreciated that. I thought the Hopper and Eleven reunion was nice. Obviously, that was a nice little emotional beat there. It was a nice reunion. What else? The way that they, you know, the battle between Eleven and Vecna. I appreciate, you know, the makeup and everything on him, and I appreciate how, and naturally you have to. You know, like I said, you got to get darker. You got to go, you know, a little more ominous. And I liked all that.
That's what I was going to ask you. Do you want to dive deep into Max or Eddie first? Which one do you want to dive deep into? Because I got a feeling both of those are going to be long conversations.
Okay, let's do Eddie. Let's talk about Eddie first.
Okay.
So, I like Eddie as well. I think between all of the, between season, well, there was no, who died in season 1? Did anybody die in season 1? I don't think anybody did.
Barb.
Oh, Barb, right. Barb, yeah, right.
Trying to think, did
that's
anybody
right.
else?
No, you're right. But Barb was expendable for sure. Okay. And Barb was loved, okay, because there was that Justice for Barb thing, right? Nobody was doing
Justice for Barb.
Where was Justice for Bob? I didn't see any. Where was Justice for whatever that Russian guy's name was or whatever in season 3?
Disposable.
Yeah, right. So Eddie.
This hit though. Eddie hit. That sucked.
Yes, because Eddie was like Barb in the sense that now Barb went out in episode 2 of season 1. So she wasn't around very long at all, but she had enough of an impact because of the way she was treated. She was treated poorly by Nancy, right? Barb was, you know, she had Nancy's best interest in heart, and she, you know, she was the, you know, Nancy's the attractive one. Barb's, you know, her kind of frumpy looking friend.
Tread
you know
carefully.
what I mean? But I'm just saying hey, come on. That's in the writing, right? That's in the writing. There's a reason. There's a reason why Barb looks like that. Okay. There's a reason why they cast it. It's not personal against the actress. I'm just saying there's a reason why in movies, you know, when you see like, you know, the good looking girl and her friend is kind of frumpy, there's a reason for that. You know, it's not just an accident, right? It's written that way. So Barb, and we all love Barb. I love Barb. But again, we loved Barb because of those emotional beats and the way that it resonated with the character. Bob, I thought Sean Astin did a really nice job. It was sucky to see him go, but it didn't quite hit on the same levels. And obviously nobody cared about the guy in season 3. In season 4, Eddie was like Barb, but lasted longer. Eddie was there till the very end. He went through every episode.
And he felt like he was part of the gang. You know what I mean?
Well, and he was treated, he didn't kill Chrissy, I think her name was. He didn't kill her. he was on the he was on the loose, being hunted for a crime he didn't commit, and he actually, unbeknownst to the town of Hawkins, helped to,
save.
Well, they didn't help to at least win one little battle. They didn't end up winning the major battle, but he sacrificed himself to try and help and save Hawkins. He sacrificed himself. So yes, the way they wrote the character and the emotional beats, obviously, people were disappointed that he died. Right? It's not a the guy from season 3 situation where nobody cares, and so it makes sense that you build that character up to a certain point, and you kill him off as opposed to killing one of the mains off. But I agree with you. I think it would have been nice to see Eddie come back, but I am not in the slightest surprise that they killed him off, because with such an emotionally weighted season, with so many stakes and so many things happening, the Duffer Brothers knew, we have to kill somebody. So we're going to build this new character. It's almost like cheating. You know what I mean? We're going to build this new character up so you care about them like Barb, but you're going to maybe even care about them more than Barb because you're going to be with them longer and you're really going to like them. And then we're going to, get rid of them. And that way we don't have to kill any of the people that really matter.
The only thing is, though, like I said, it was a predictable move by the Duffer Brothers to kill off someone like Eddie.
Yeah, because they've been doing it for the last 3 seasons.
Exactly. Rather than, killing off someone that would have been like, whoa, didn't see that coming. Because I just still feel that there was more room for Eddie for one more season.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Like how Max was introduced in season 2 and became a regular, Eddie could very well have become a regular for one more season. 100%. I agree with that. But it doesn't surprise me or you or anybody. Well, it shouldn't anyway. That because it's like, oh, of course, who are you going? You're not going to kill any of them. So that's what they did. And it makes sense. Now, when it comes to Max, I thought, going back to our episode a couple of weeks ago, that they should have killed her off, and that's episode 4. There was an opportunity there for them to do that. They didn't. Okay. We talked about how maybe Lucas, maybe she should have sacrificed herself to save Lucas. We talked about that. So here they are. Max is levitating. She's doing her thing. Her arms are breaking. Her arms are going to break. And I was like, oh, are they going to do it? I was rooting for it. I was hoping they would do it. I have to be honest with you. I am disappointed they didn't. I understand why they didn't. It could be a cross between, well, we don't want to write it that way, and Netflix won't allow us to write it that way. There could be, I get it. I understand it. But I was hoping they would pull the trigger. I was hoping that when I saw Eddie go, I thought, okay, it was a great death. He's looking up at Dustin, and he's got, the blood in his teeth, and he's a great performance by the actor. I forget his name now. Great performance. And I thought, okay, all right, makes sense. Checkbox, yep, made sense. But it was good. It was good. And then when it looked like Max was going, I was like, oh, I'm sitting there and I'm going, oh, are they going to? Oh, come on, do it.
They really did.
Of course.
They had you there for a few minutes. Because even like I said, when I was watching it, I'm looking at Devin and his wife, and I'm like, they're not going to kill her.
I know.
Then some time went by, and I'm like, for a brief moment, I was like, shit, I think they're killing her.
I know.
Because you had 11 there in the upside down with her, and she's crying. Because it seemed like a really powerful moment. 11's with her in the upside down, and she's crying over her.
Yep.
While Lucas is holding her in the real world.
And you see her limbs broken and everything. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's like, I didn't want to see it. And I was like, really, and even Devin's like, dude, I think you need to accept it. She's gone. And I'm like, yeah, I think you're right.
It would have been so, imagine now if Hopper had actually died at the end of, not that I'm not glad that he's back. I love David Harbour. I think it's great. And I like the character, but imagine if he had actually died at the end of season 3. And now Max is the weight, it just I get it's television. It just feels like we're going to, make, well, it is this. They do the limbs breaking and they go, oh, she's brain dead. Do we honestly think that Max is going to stay? listen, I guess anything's possible. But does anybody out there actually think that they're going to ride through season 5 with Max ending up dying by the end of the season? Yeah, I mean, maybe she'll be in a coma for a few episodes. Maybe she'll even continue to be in a coma for half the season. And maybe they'll use that.
That's a long coma. That's a 3-year time jump.
It's a 4. Yeah.
4.
Well,
yeah. 3.
3 or 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe, or maybe she isn't. Maybe she's no longer in a coma, but she's like what they, like a vegetable or whatever, right? Like she's there and she's, she's awake, but she doesn't. Who knows? Who knows what they're going to do? But I just, when her eyes were glazed over and Lucas was crying and the music was building to that crescendo and Eleven's crying, I'm like, do it. Do you know how much more powerful this scene's going to be 20 years from now if you pull the trigger? Pull the trigger. Do it. Don't do that fucking thing that you people always do, because it doesn't make me think now anybody like, come on, man. I don't want Max to die. I love the character of Max. We all like Max. But that's why it matters. That's why when you do that, it's not that characters die. Like I always say, it's how they die. It's the weight. It's the stakes. Does it matter? Does it mean something? Will you remember it? Do we want her to die like that? Or do we want her to die in the hospital of a coma? I want her to die like that. I want her to just go out in a blaze of glory, sacrificing herself to help her friends, to say, that's what you do. I understand why they didn't do that. I get it, right? Like I said, there could be even a contract or something. I don't know. Sure. But
because I went from oh man. And then when I saw the blackout to 2 days later, I'm like, oh, I was like, no, like, cause I just like,
yeah, see,
it was just no, like
Colin
you
McCormick
had this moment, with Elle and Max and Lucas and Max, and I'm like, damn, and like you're kind of I'm heartbroken because I love the character, and I'm like, oh, and then when
that's
they went
what
to
you
black,
want.
And then when it went 2 days later and she's in the hospital, I'm like, bro, come on.
I know. Colin McCormick in the chat said Max did die, but 11 that brought her back. That doesn't count. That doesn't count, Colin. You can't. Come on. That's cheating. No, but she did die. No, she. I guess kind of. Yes. Okay. She died. Technically, she died. But she was brought back. A minute later. It's again, I understand why. I get it. And I totally understand it. And I can't say that if I was in that position and I was fortunate enough to be writing on a show like Stranger Things, that I wouldn't be compelled to do that kind of stuff too. And maybe even with Netflix breathing to, hey, listen, guys, be careful who you kill this, because we all love Max and we don't want people that, we still got another season. There could be that coming in. We don't know, right? There could be that, all that. I get it. But Max dying for a minute and then coming back, it's not that it wasn't emotional. It's not that it wasn't a great scene. I know there's millions of Stranger Things fans out there that will actively and understandably so disagree with me 100% and say, no, I'm glad she's still alive. I get it. But from a certain point of view with storytelling, it can be so effective and so powerful. Like Tony and I are totally in agreement here with the Hopper thing. We both love Hopper. We love the character of Hopper. But when we found out he was kind of still alive, it was like, especially it's like, well, okay, I guess. But that when 11 is reading that letter at the end of season 3 and it's in Hopper's voice and she's crying and how emotional it is and how it's like,
missed opportunity.
Yeah, it's like, man, it's like, come on, let's people gotta die in season 5, man. People gotta die.
Either that or I think your prediction is gonna come true. I think one or two things are gonna happen. Elle's gonna sacrifice herself to save everybody, or it's gonna be a happy ending and Elle still comes out on top by beating Vecna and she doesn't die.
Right.
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
Well, that, and I also have a theory that I think what may happen here is the reason why the Upside Down is still set in 1983 is that when Elle does defeat Vecna once and for all, it's going to reset everything back to 1983. That's going to be the final moments, and maybe everybody's brought back to life.
Ooh, that's something I never thought of, Tony. But how do you...
she resets everything.
Right.
By defeating him, she resets time. It goes back before everyone dies, and they don't meet her. Basically, their memories are wiped. They don't meet Elle. And
so you would then, that actually would be interesting, Tony. That is, so you would then have to hire. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to hire a bunch of kids. And
to look like the kids.
Well, no, you'd fucking deep fake that shit like they did in season 4 when they had a little kid and they deep faked. I don't know if they actually used deep fake technology or if they used something else. I'm just using that as kind of just like a synonym for this kind of shit, right? But if you were to, but in season 4, where they actually had a younger kid who they deep faked Millie Bobby Brown's younger face on, right? And so maybe that's what they do. And it's not like it's just
and like you see like this final shot of the kids at Mike's house playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh man, that would be wild.
You see the older kids, whatever, doing something. Barb's still alive. Maybe Eddie's playing with his band in the garage. And
right.
Whatever. You know what I mean? Like my gut feeling is leaning that that's how this will end, because someone had pointed out, and I don't know who it was, and then I had to double check it, and sure enough, it is in Nancy in this season, or is it last season? No, it's this season. She mentions how in her journal it's still 1983.
Right. Yes, that's right.
Upside down.
That's right.
So I'm wondering if they're going to go with a sad ending in the sense of Elle sacrificing herself to defeat it. But in that sacrifice, it resets time and resets everything back to 1983, and none of this craziness has happened.
Did you just come up with that? Like, did you just think of that yourself?
Well, I thought about it before the show.
Right. No. I know that. But I mean, no,
that's how I came up with it. I was thinking about that.
So it all depends what the story is for season 5. I don't know if that would end up making sense, but just on paper, like just reading or you telling me that in like a little synopsis, I actually think that's a very interesting, cool idea to explore.
Yeah, and King Kennedy, perfect. Vecna uses the clock, so that's time.
Right,
Time is a theme for Vecna's character.
Right.
So,
and it may
be. I got a gut feeling they're going to be resetting time, and everybody's going to be alive except for Elle. Obviously.
Right, and I will tell you this. I would be, there'd be so many fans that would be against that because they want Eleven to live, and she is sort of the heart and the star of the show. And I get that, right? And they want her and Mike to go off and live happily ever after and have kids and babies and all that kind of stuff and superhero babies. But here's the thing. Like I said in our discussion a couple of weeks ago, and I said this, I said that I didn't think they would do it in season 4 for obvious reasons. They still have another season. But I said this, and our viewers who watched then know this. I am okay with Eleven dying at the end of season 5. And she does it and the reason is because at the end of the day, now again, it depends how they write it. We're fast forwarding a couple of years. Who knows what's going to happen in between that gap? Who knows? Maybe it won't make sense. But at the end of the day, where we are right now, 11 Elle she's so different, and she knows this. She knows she's not like anybody else. How does this person fit into society? It's like Superman trying to fit in. You know what I mean? It's like a god. I mean, she's really 11 at the end of the day is a god. She is a god. If you can actually do that to the degree that she can, you are a god. Now that doesn't mean there aren't other little gods out there like 8 from season 2 and all those other, but I'm just saying she's a god. And it's like, how does one live in a world like that? How do you become normal in a world when you possess that kind of power? Where does that go? And so something kind of has always, I've always thought, again, from a story and character point of view, I've always thought that maybe there will be a moment where 11 realizes this, that at the end of the day, as much as she loves Mike and she loves her friends, and she knows she's so different, she knows that she'll never be able to have a normal life. What is normal to her? She's been institutionalized for most of her life, and she makes the ultimate sacrifice. And that ultimate sacrifice is sacrificing herself to save Mike, to save her friends, to save Will, to save everybody, to save Hopper, to save Joyce, to save the world. She sacrifices herself to save the world. And I would be, now I'm not saying that everybody would be okay with that, but man, that's powerful. And that's like,
it's a great ending, and it comes full circle. It brings it back to the beginning.
Yeah.
The kids are not going to know, because in a reset, they're not going to know she existed. So they don't know. None of this never happened. So they're still and you could even bring it back to that night when they're playing D&D. You know what I mean? Like, and you can juxtapose it to what all the other kids were doing to show that everyone's still alive and, everyone's okay. And, I'm leaning towards that. That's going to be the finale, or maybe it won't. I mean, they've also hinted at it's going to be very dark. You know what I mean? It's going to be a dark ending, and that people may not.
And they want spinoffs as well. So
right, well, see, resetting it sort of gives them the opportunity to do spinoffs. You know what I mean? Whereas if you full blown end it, like Elle sacrifices herself, but there's no time travel, no time go back in time, and everyone's still alive, and it's 1989. Elle's dead, and well, what do you do from there? You know what I mean? But resetting the time, yes, you can play with that for spinoffs. Yeah.
For sure. And I like that. Again, I don't know if it would feel right, but just from a story perspective, from a filmmaking perspective, I sit back, and if I was in the writer's room and somebody had presented that idea to me, I would go, oh, that's interesting. I like that idea. Let's explore that. Let's expand on it and see if it works, because it's an interesting idea. And and then it's set back to back before they met her, and everybody is. It's interesting. It's interesting that I have a feeling that would be very divisive. But I have to admit,
however they end
I find it interesting.
You're never going, the shitty part, even with Halloween ends and anything that comes to an end, you're never going to satisfy everybody. You're going to have half the people who love it, and you're going to have half the people who hate it. That's
right. Well, it's art.
And I've said it openly. Max is my favorite character on this show. I wish they had pulled the trigger. And I know there's gonna be Max fans out there, be like, oh, if you're not a real fan, you're like, no.
Those people are fucking losers. They are. They're losers.
But
it doesn't make any sense.
That's toxicity of fandom.
Indeed, it is.
You're never going to satisfy people. So even whatever the Duffers come up with as an idea for their ending, some people are going to like it, and some people aren't going to like it.
That's right. That's just the way it is.
They're hard to do.
It is. But the ultimate sacrifice with 11 makes sense. Now, again, the Duffer Brothers, depending on what they have planned or what Netflix wants to do, they may want to have an ending where Mike and 11 live happily ever after. Right. And that's fine. But I just look at her, and then I look at the character, and I think, how does a person like that live in a world? She would, because now too. Let's think of this, right? Let's think of this. Okay, so we end season 4 with 11 and everybody in this tableau shot of everybody peering over Hawkins, and Hawkins is in fucking ruins. It looks like an atomic bomb went off. So the town of Hawkins is decimated. Fire, lava, pits, the upside down and reality are starting to merge together now and shit. Well, obviously this is no longer going to be just a Hawkins thing. This is now going to be all over the fucking news. This is going to be CNN, and Anderson fucking Cooper is going to be down there and going, here we are, and but you know what I mean, right? Like, it's going to be all over. In reality, this wouldn't just be a local story. This is now a international story. Me up here in Toronto, I'd be hearing about that little town down in Indiana. My fucking family over in England would be hearing about that little town in Indiana. People in Australia would be tuning in, finding out that little, because of it's like, what the hell is going on here, right? So 11, how does how do you keep that a secret now that 11 is somebody that possesses these kinds of powers? Because you're going to...
Not only that, dude, how do you explain a 3-year time? Shit's got to be hitting the fan from the moment, from the get-go of season 5.
100%.
Because if you're telling us there's a time jump, well, that gives the Upside Down 3 years to merge with reality.
Correct.
I gotta believe it will be fully merged, and shit's going to be hitting the fan from episode 1.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, dude.
Yeah, there's not going to be any lovey-dovey stuff from the beginning. It's going to be war.
You have to jump right into it. And it's possible that it could not just be Hawkins. I mean, in this 2 or 3, I don't know how many years they're planning to jump. I would imagine they want to end this thing in the 80s. So I think the most they could jump is 3 years to 89.
89.
I think that would make sense because where the kids will be. They're not shooting the show this year. The Duffer Brothers are only starting to write season 5. They have ideas, but really starting to write it next month. They're taking the month of July off. So the earliest they would go to camera, would be maybe next summer, maybe, right? And then the earliest we would see it on Netflix would be maybe 2024. That's the earliest we would see it. So, the kids are going to be a couple more years older. So, I would imagine they'd want to keep this thing maybe around 88, 89. And what other fucking catastrophes have happened? Maybe it's not just Hawkins now. Maybe there's shit in Canada. Maybe Toronto is, I don't know, right? I mean, who knows? You got 3 years here. Is it just contained to Hawkins? What's going on? What is reality like now? And I find it hard to believe that in that post-apocalyptic world, essentially is what we're talking about here, this post kind of like, what the fuck? I find it difficult to believe.
They're going to school during the day while this shit is happening outside.
Right. But not only that, I find it difficult to believe that would be a world where 11's powers are still secret. Because I believe that would, because she's the only one. And maybe season 5 is where her sister, quote unquote, right? Number 8 from season 2. Maybe she comes back. Maybe it's not just her, but I
can see that happening.
Maybe it's a bunch of them, right? It's one, well, it's not one, it's 2 through 11. You know what I mean? Like maybe 2 through 11, are there to fight everybody and they all sacrifice themselves or whatever. But at the end of the day, how does a person live like that in a normal world? It's like Superman. They're gods. 11 is a god. That's what she is. She's a real life god. And it's like, so it makes sense from that point of view. It makes total narrative sense. It doesn't mean they're going to write it this way because they don't want to upset fans because she's a beloved character, but it totally makes sense that that character might choose to do that. For sure, she might choose to do that. It makes perfect sense to save humanity. Come on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'll be quite disappointed if we jump into season 5 and it's 1989 and they're showing us the kids going to school as if like it's a normal day in the 80s. I gotta believe from the moment they're standing there on the hill, seeing what happening, where the merger of the Upside Down and the real world is beginning. Like I said, shit's got to be jumping off right from episode 1. If you have this buildup like you did in 4, where Elle's in California going to school and the kids back in Hawkins are going to school, and if you try to do any type of normalcy to their lives of the 80s and whatnot, that's going to seem very odd. Like I just can't imagine parents, if we're saying that this is real now, I can't imagine parents wanting to send their kids to school knowing the world is like on the brink of destruction here. Like you said, because you would know about it in Canada, I would know about it up in Connecticut, and whatnot.
Well, that's it. To your point, Tony, you're bang on. The cat is out of the bag now. For a very long time, these kids were hiding this adventure that they were on from their own fucking parents. They can't hide this. The parents have to know now. It's all over. The town is in ruins. Now, unless the Duffer Brothers try to spin it where there's an official story and there's the real story. So there's the unofficial, there's what the media says. Oh, it's just because Hawkins was built on a fault line and it's this crazy earthquake, which they even said, they kind of had that in the news report there. There was an 8-point something earthquake, whatever. And maybe the Duffer Brothers try to spin it that there's still this naive gap between reality and what's actually happening or whatever, or the
happening.
Yeah, but again, if you're fast forwarding 3 years, wouldn't the cat be out of the bag? This is I'm expecting season 5 to begin full on. We are in.
It's hell on earth.
Hell on earth.
Let's go.
Let's go. We are in. We don't have time. There's not going to be, I don't expect the first episode to begin with, oh, we're getting introduced to another new character.
No, fuck that.
And we'll
I want to see opening
see
scene, 11's ripping open a Demogorgon.
Yes. Yeah. I'm expecting World War Z shit.
Exactly.
On the ground. It's a black screen. We cut in. We don't fade in. We cut in, and 11 and yes, and 11's like,
she's doing this, and you see a Demogorgon being ripped to shreds. That's what I want to see from the jump.
I'm expecting come on here, but
and Steve is using his baseball bats with the nails and beating up another Demogorgon.
Yeah, that's it. You got to do something.
What I do not want for season 5. No more of this. No, we've done it long enough. They did it in season 3. That's part of the reason why I don't like season 3. And there's a little bit in season 2 because 11 is separated from the group in season 2. So I get that. No more separation. No more separating the group.
Yes.
No more. You're going off on this adventure. You're going off on this adventure. This is the final. If this is truly the final season with this core group before any spinoffs, keep it together. Let's see it from beginning to end on this last run with them. I'm not saying you can't have different episodes where they go off to do this really quick, but you want to keep the group relatively close to each other. You want to feel a closeness with them, that they're in this fight together.
Correct. It's again, going back to sort of the top of the show today when I talked about how season 1 is my favorite. One of the reasons for that, again, is that simplicity, that charm, that it was just this small, tight-knit group. And I get why it was larger in scale in season 4. It made sense. I get it. But yeah, I would love to return to the more
because even in season 1 when Nancy and Jonathan are when Nancy and Jonathan and even Hopper and Joyce are off doing their own thing and the kids are doing their own thing, even though they're not sharing screen time together, you still felt like they were together because it was all
because essentially all in Hawkins. Right. I was just going to say, because it's all in Hawkins. And
that's what they need to do. So I don't mind if people are doing their own missions in Hawkins.
Yeah.
But keep the group together for sure.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. And listen, in terms of, so we're both on board with kind of the idea of we're open to 11 sacrificing herself to save the world. I think that's pretty fucking epic. And if you're going to die, that's the way to do it. She saved humanity. I mean, you can't be mad at her for that. But
the time
travel thing, I think that's a really
cool idea.
That's a really fascinating, cool idea that I have to admit, I'd be lying if I said I didn't hope that's what they do now. I actually kind of hope that they explore that. That's actually really cool. And deepfake a couple of kids. I think, now let's talk about some other characters that, okay, so you
talk about the three amigos here, Robin, Steve, and Nancy. I don't blame the actors, for this because it wasn't their fault, but I just felt like in the first part when we're watching them, I felt that they were in danger. This one, I didn't feel like they were in danger.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like not enough to where, like the way I was talking a few weeks ago when we were talking, I thought Steve was gone. I really did. I was like, man, this dude, it's not looking good for old Steve-O. Now I feel even more confident. I don't think anything's going to happen to those three.
So well, and yeah, and I think it would be sort of strange, although again, it all depends on what happens in season 5, if they did not rekindle that relationship between Steve and Nancy. That's what you've clearly set up of that potential. And I think that it would make sense to kind of go that way. That's why I thought Steve was going to die, was because, they were beginning to rekindle that. And I thought he was going to sacrifice himself to save
and
Nancy.
Even if they don't do it just because they don't want to upset the fans, because they want to keep Nancy and Jonathan together, in the time travel back when Elle resets everything, Steve and Nancy are beginning their relationship.
You could do that. And I wonder if, and then maybe, they could even add, because, they could even add rules, right? Like, what are the rules of the time set, right? Or the time reset, right? So what I mean by that is that the Duffer Brothers could write a situation where, it's a fictional world. It's not real. So they create the rules. So the rules could be, well, if you do this, or if you do this, your life will be reset and you won't remember anything. But if you end up doing this, you won't come back. Do you know what I mean? Like they could even have that kind of,
it could be like it's a permanent,
right? Exactly. Now what that is, I don't know. I don't know if that's just something that if it's a test you got to do, or who knows? It could be anything. It could be absolutely anything. But there could be things that characters have to make sure they don't do, or they don't look at, or they don't come across, or whatever. Because if they do, if they come across that, or if they look at that, I don't know. It's like, the deadlights in It, right? Whatever, right? Oh my God, it's Vecna's dead. Whatever it is, you create the rules. You could have a situation where if that happens, they don't return on a reset. And that
they would be pulling an idea that Endgame did in Marvel with Black Widow, where part of that story was time travel that they were doing to reset time for what Thanos had done. Something happens to Black Widow that is permanent.
Right.
And even with the time jump, it can't change it. So that's actually not a bad idea if Stranger Things, because that actually adds more to the threat. You know what I mean? That that maybe maybe they do hint throughout the season that there, somebody's hints to 11 that if she sacrifices herself, she could do it. And by doing that, she could reset time.
Right.
So that none of this, so maybe she's the only one who knows about it. But at the same time, we as the audience also know through the narrative of the story that the Duffers are telling us that Elle knows this, but we also know if something happens, there's consequences that could be permanent, even if she does set the time. Correct. Reset the time.
Correct. Yeah. And that would allow you to pick and choose who you want to come back. You know what I mean? Which, is it everybody? Is it half of people? I don't know, but, it's interesting. And Steve, I thought Steve was going to go. I think he very well could have, and I think maybe he should have. But again, it's not that I didn't want Steve to go because he tripped over a rock and hit his head. I wanted him. I wanted him to go, sacrificing himself, saving Nancy. That's what I want. Like, Nancy was in trouble and Steve fucking comes in and sacrifices himself. He's a hero, because here's the thing too, and we talked about this in Volume 1 Thoughts. Steve's arc essentially, his arc is continuing to grow a little bit, but his real arc has been complete really since season 1, because he started out as a bit of a douchebag, right? And then he ended up becoming like a hero. And according to the Duffer Brothers, if I'm not mistaken, the character of Steve was going to die in season 1. They originally had that idea. So because his arc was complete, right? So he was probably going to go out a hero at the end of that season. So there's not a lot of room for Steve to grow. Like he was a douchebag. He treated people, not everybody, but he's a bit of a douchebag, right? He was a douchebag, and then he had a change of heart, and he redeems himself. He redeemed himself at the end of that first season, and now he's been kind of the same guy ever since. He's charming. We like him. He's a great character. We don't want him to die. I like him too. He's one of the best characters in the show, but he's not like he's not, I don't know if his arc is growing. I mean, maybe he needs to end up with somebody. Like he always is trying to look for the, Mrs. Right? So, I mean, maybe that's a part of his arc that is incomplete yet. And he thought it might've been Robin, but she turned out to be gay. And then Nancy's with, Jonathan. And, so he's in kind of a bit of relationship limbo. Okay, fair. So there's that you could still nurture and work on. But at the end of the day, there's no real sort of, he's kind of already come to who he is. So that's why I thought it was perfect for him to, you buy into that hero status that he is.
But nothing really happened to them in this last part to where they were threatened enough to where he would do that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Correct. Yeah. So he didn't die. Eddie died. No shock. Will he go out in this one? Will he go out in this one, leaving Jonathan with Nancy, or will Jonathan go out in the next one, leaving Steve and Nancy?
I think you're bang on from what you said a few weeks ago. I think if anyone's going to go, it's going to be 11. I don't think anyone else is going to go.
Really? So you don't think anybody else is going to go?
No. They're playing it safe to the chest. When Max didn't die, I said to Devin, I said, they're not going to kill not any of the core characters. They won't do that. Because like you said earlier in the stream, not to repeat it, but that moment right there, like you said, from a storytelling point of view, as much as it would have sucked for me as a fan of the show and as a big fan of the character of Max, the opportunity now is lost because if something happens to her in season 5, it won't have the same emotional impact like it would have in that scene there where I said a few minutes ago.
In the arms of Lucas.
And Elle's in the upside down with her as well too. And you're having this back and forth moment. And like I said, that's what you want out of your fans too, by the way. When you're watching this, I'm on the couch like, oh shit. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think this is it.
I turned to my girlfriend. I'm like, oh shit, I think they're actually going to do it.
Yeah.
And she thought that too. We're like, oh, maybe they are,
And you don't want, but that's what you want.
You don't want it, but you do want it.
Because it's like, oh damn. Like, you know what I mean? And it gets, but I get it from the fan perspective.
Imagine this, dude.
Yeah.
Imagine, now again, Max is in a coma. She appears to be brain dead. Okay, because, 11 went in there and didn't see anything. Okay, somebody can only remain brain dead for so long. I don't know what the Duffer brothers have in mind in terms of where Max is going to be. I
got a feeling Elle's going to go into the upside down with her and find her and reset her brain.
Well, here's the thing, too. Here's the thing, and I don't know how I feel about this. 11 literally just brought Max back from the dead.
Right? That's what I'm saying.
So
when that blackout happened and it said 2 days later and she's in the hospital, I'm like, no. I don't think
that raises the stakes. I think that diminishes the stakes because now, as long as 11 is with you, she can bring you back.
She can bring her back to life.
Like, so they're death proof? Like, I mean,
no, it's like you said, she's God. It's literally like what you just said. She is God.
Yeah. And so I just kind of feel like, it was because, like, again, imagine if Max had actually died like Eddie. It would have sucked, would have been painful, would have been great because it's great, But imagine then you go, oh shit. You as a fan, or me as a fan, I know you'd feel the same way. You sit there and you go, okay, now this means anybody's game.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's like, oh shit, they actually did do it. So now that means that anybody could go. If they can kill Max, a beloved character. Yes, she came in season 2. She wasn't but she's a beloved character, strong character. She had a great arc. And we all love Max. She's just as much a part of the group now as anybody. And if they had killed her, it would have been like, okay, now nobody's safe. And that's great for storytelling. That doesn't mean in season 5 you do kill somebody, but you want your audience to think that you could, and you could easily. But now, with 11 healing people, I mean, Jesus, I sit there and I go, well, that doesn't raise the stakes. That just makes me realize that she, so if I see a scene with Mike going, oh, as long as 11's there, he's fine. He's fine. He's cool. He's fine. It's just a flesh wound. He's fine.
11 was trained by Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah, I'm just kind of like,
she knows how to cheat death now.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that bringing back to life power is the first. I guess it's because 11 is now stronger, right? And they did set that up that if she could gain her power back, she would be stronger than ever. Right. Okay. And I guess one of these newfound powers is the ability to heal and bring back somebody from the dead. But I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. Like, that's cool. Don't get me wrong. I mean, that's cool. But is that what you want, though? Like, do you want that? Like, maybe you should say.
I didn't know how I felt about that.
Like,
I kind of did feel like that moment was a little bit cheesy, like, because like everything you're saying is spot on. Look, we're not minimizing the character of 11, but you know, like Dave said, there's no. If Elle is around and if someone is seriously injured where it's life threatening, she can heal them. So there's no threat.
Yeah, I mean, you know? I mean, maybe not if like they were decapitated or something, but I mean, certainly, certainly in this fight against Vecna, it would appear that as long as 11's there, and we know she's there now, you know, and again, who knows, right? Like they haven't even started writing the nitty gritty details yet. They are smart guys. Certainly they have a team, and it's not just them. Obviously they have a team of writers as well. They have surrounded themselves with, you know, some of the best in the business. And I would imagine that all these things we're talking about are things that they're talking about and thinking about as well. But I just, as a fan and as a filmmaker myself, I look at that and I think, and again, I can't say that I would have definitely pulled the trigger. I mean, I remember even on It's Me, Billy, when we were going to shoot Justine's death scene, I actually walked into the dining room and I felt sad. I actually told them that the actors were at the table playing cards, and I walked in and I said, I don't want to kill you tonight. You know, I did. Like,
such a great way to start a conversation.
It is. I did. I walked in and I said that to them. I said,
"You're gonna die tonight."
Yeah, I said that. I said, you know, because you know the crew was upstairs prepping the bedroom, and we didn't need her up there yet because they were just, you know, finessing the lighting and all that. And I walked in and I said, because of the relationship, right? They had built such a good relationship. They really like each other and they're laughing, you know, and they're being, you know, mid-20s girls, right? And I just was like, I don't want to kill them. I don't want to kill Justine. Oh my God. I actually felt I felt bad, right? So, I mean, to be fair, I can't say that maybe I wouldn't make the same choice. But at the end of the day, I can intellectualize and understand why even killing, you know, Justine, why that we needed to do that, right? And I mean, again, it's not the exact same scenario, obviously, okay? Right. But it's the principle of what I'm talking about. It's the principle of what I'm talking about, that when you have a character, because one thing that we got complimented on, of course, in our film was that the relationship and the dynamic between the three leads, right? They felt like real friends. They felt like real people, so much so that they were disappointed that we killed them, you know, not killed all of them, but killed, you know, 2 of them, spoiler alert, off early. They oh, it's too bad. You know, we wanted to see more of them. And that's a good thing. I would much rather, you know, somebody say, I was disappointed that you killed them and we didn't get to see more of them, rather than I'm glad you killed them because I couldn't stand that annoying bitch. Would rather the other. But it's the principle, right? Is that, you know, you want, it's important that there are stakes involved. And if like we pretended to kill Justine and didn't really kill her, where does that really leave us, right? You know what I mean? Again, it's not the same situation. I'm just talking about the principle. Well, it's the principle of that idea. And with Max, I get why they didn't kill her. But then again, we don't know where she is. Maybe she won't recover. That's what I was just about to ask
you. What do you think? Do you want, with Max in season 5, see, the one advantage they have with the time jump is they could do 1 or 2 things with her character. She could be already back in the fight with them because it's a time jump and she came out of her coma, and her arms, you know, her arms are, you know, your arms, and imagine arms this from being broken would be healed.
Sorry, dude, I don't mean to interrupt. I want to let you finish, but what if 11 healing her gave Max superpowers? Oh God.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. I don't know, man. Do you think that I was going to ask you, what if that happens where in the story they tell, they don't spend a lot of time with it, but that some of 11 rubbed off on Max, meaning the powers were sort of transferred. And now Max has developed, maybe not the full extent, because you got to remember, shit is really hitting the fan. So I don't think Elle's going to be able to do all of this on her own. She's going to need allies. She's going to need people to,
that's where I think her sister and her brothers and all that are going to come in, I think.
So with Max, one or two things. They could go down the road of giving her powers as well too. Now, if they don't go down that road and she just comes back and she's healed and she's, in the fight, just in the fight.
Yeah.
Do we spend any time do we need to know as fans the healing process she went through, or do you just, do you have it as like a throwaway of whatever?
I think you could do it as a flashback.
That's what I'm saying. Do you spend a lot of time there with it, or do you, you know what I mean? Like, how do you, you can't have Max sitting in a coma for 3 years and be brain dead, because nobody can live that long. Being brain dead.
Unless there's some sort of, magical thing.
I guess if she goes into her subconscious, sure, I get that.
Yeah.
But I just feel like I don't want to, what I don't want is Max being in the hospital. Well, first of all, we don't even know if a hospital is going to be in existence at that point, because shit's hitting the fan. So if shit is hitting the fan, it wouldn't make sense to have Max still in a hospital, brain dead, because the world, is coming crashing down. So you obviously need to have her character fully healed. So the question is, how much time do you spend in the process of the recovery process?
Right.
Do you just kind of,
where are we essentially? Where are we in the story?
Do you do just a little, like Dave said, do you do a little flashback showing her healing process, or do you just, she's healed and it's 3 years later and leave it at that?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Because they did leave themselves in a weird situation with her character by not killing. This is what happens by not killing her. You've left the character in a weird situation, because hell, like Dave said, hell is literally on Earth.
Yeah.
And shit's hitting the fan. Hospitals are not going to be up and running, and while the upside down is merging into reality, and you've got this character who's brain dead, in a hospital with broken arms. So
you see now, Brooke Scarlett in the chat says Vecna has her mind and will be restored once Vecna is defeated. That's an interesting way to look at it, and if true, but still. So she's really not going to be. So she's in a coma basically. for, and I'm not 3 years. I'm not disagreeing with Brooke. I'm just simply saying, what does that mean then, right? So she's in a coma for 3 years. She's brain dead for 3 years. Nobody can be brain dead for 3 years. Your brain, you can't, I guess they have her on life support, whatever, but what does that mean when she comes back? But again, they're going to use the supernatural, because I get it. They're going to use the supernatural side to it, that, well, it's different because, 11's going to heal her and she's brain dead and she's going to come back. But I don't know. I just think they should have killed Max. I think they should have killed Max, and because it raises the stakes. And it makes, again, I'm sure. Or maybe her physical body's still stuck in the upside down and it's healed. And but the upside down is actually now in reality. So there really is there's no separation between the two. Yeah. So it's just one of it's where are we going to be when we jump? How far is the jump? You and I suspect, because of the age of the kids, that they'd have to jump at least to 1989, right? Yeah. I hope the Duffer Brothers, minimum. And I would think it would also be maximum, because they'd want to close out the show in the 80s. Sure. But are the Duffer Brothers just going to maybe go 2 years to 88? That's possible. But 1 year wouldn't seem like enough. Because they'd be like, that's not a time jump. They made it seem like there's a time jump. Yeah, and and again, I've said this before, but I have to reiterate it that. And again, I know it's just a TV show, but when you look at the beginning of the first episode of season 1, it says Hawkins, Indiana, November 6th or something like that, 1983. Well, this season took place, if I'm not mistaken, in March of 86. That's only 2.5 years. So you're telling me everything they went to in everything they went through in all those seasons happened in 2.5 years of each other.
Poor kids. Oh
my God, they need therapy. Like, what the hell is going on? 2.5 years? That's it. And obviously they look like they've aged, 5 years. So you have to jump ahead. For sure.
Didn't even think of that. Yeah, mad about you, guy. I keep forgetting that he's still alive.
Paul
Maybe
Reiser.
He plays a factor in maybe helping Max.
That's true.
Recovery.
Maybe.
I didn't think of that. That's a good call. I could see that.
It's a good call. I think Joyce and Hopper. Will Joyce and Hopper?
They're Marvin Gaye it and getting it on.
They are. Let's get it on.
They are totally getting it on.
But will one of them die?
No,
you don't think so?
Happening. I at this point now,
I think you missed the boat on Hopper.
Yeah, big time, because you'd be like, Winona. I don't see that. No, I don't see it happening.
Yeah. Now you see, Michael Bish here says they said it would be a time jump, but not a big one. Well,
okay, well then that would
but what's big, sense. Right? I mean, not 10 years. Well, of course not. But I hope it's not going to be just another 6 months. Like, guys. Come on, you push it real good. Dun, 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 dun. Push it real good.
If they go, like you said, if they go to 87, that's,
no, go to 88. So I can hear
minimally 88, 89.
And here's one thing I heard too. Beetlejuice, which was essentially Winona Ryder's first big movie, came out in 1987. And I believe Winona Ryder she had mentioned something about how we can't, I might be wrong on this, but I thought I had read somewhere, did I read this or did I hear this? God, that she was worried that, we have to wrap everything up before Beetlejuice comes out, because Beetlejuice was such a pop culture-y thing that
you can't not reference.
You can't not reference it, and then there's me, and it's like, what am I doing on that post, whatever. But here's but here are my thoughts on that. First of all, that's going to be very difficult because Beetlejuice, if I'm not mistaken, came out in March of 87. That's only, I mean, what? So that means
it's a year, because this is March of 86.
Right. So that means what? You're only going to go another 6 months. And also, I don't think that's a big deal at all, because it's not like it's Winona Ryder today. It's Winona Ryder when she was like 18 or whatever.
All, Winona Ryder doesn't exist in the world of Stranger Things.
Right. So what you can do.
Lydia Dietz?
Lydia Dietz, yes, something like that. Yeah.
It's a character in a movie.
Was it 88? Beetlejuice came out in 88? I thought it was 87.
Okay,
was it 88?
Even 88.
It was 88. Okay, fair enough. Thank you. I appreciate that. Was it 88?
Whenever it came out, the point is that it doesn't matter, because Winona Ryder does not exist in the world of Stranger Things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Winona Ryder in reality is an actress who played, these parts.
Correct.
So I don't think it would really be that big of a deal. You know what I mean?
And I agree.
Well, first of all, Sean Astin was in this, and he's a Goonie.
He is.
And they referenced the Goonies in this.
Yeah. Well, they did, but not in a season he was in, and not an episode he was in, I don't think. And he was in the season 2, which was 84, which is a year before the Goonies. And okay, but to Tony's point, and thank you, by the way, you are correct. It was 88. But okay, so I guess it's possible then they could do it before Beetlejuice comes out. But to Tony's point, I'm in agreement. It doesn't matter. Push it to late 88. Push it to the summer of 88. Push it to past when all that shit would have been around.
89.
Yeah, whatever. Because to Tony's point, it's not like you have to show Winona Ryder in that movie. You can show the poster. She's not on the poster.
No, she
right?
Isn't.
I mean, she's not playing Winona Ryder in the movie or in the show. She's Joyce Byers.
Right.
And she looks great for her age. She's 50 now. She looks great, but she's,
oh, she looks amazing. I love the woman. Love her.
But in that but she's it was like 35 years ago. She's not 18 anymore, whatever the hell she was, right? 15, whatever she was. So I mean, I just don't think that's a big deal. No, I don't think so. I don't think it's a big deal.
It really isn't.
Or and you could even have fun with it. You could, if you wanted to acknowledge it, you could even have a little moment where somebody says, yo, Mom, you kind of look like that girl in Beetlejuice. And she kind of goes, oh, yeah, but she, whatever, right? Like something like, you could even just have that kind of, something funny like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
absolutely.
You could even do, because she's clearly Joyce Byers. She's not playing a fictional, if she was playing Winona Ryder, that's different.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of pop culture reference in this final season because, as we've said, shit's hitting the fan.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They're not going to have time for pop culture references in this season when they're battling for the end of the world here.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's true. But that was just a
Michael Myers is referenced in this. Okay. I mean, come on.
He is. And they had a Trick or Treat Studios Michael Myers mask, which did not exist in 1986. Twice they did
because Max
season
wore
2,
it originally in season 2, and then she gives it to Eddie here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like, come on, Michael Myers is Michael Myers is a fictional character in when I say our, meaning all of our real world. They brought a fictional character into their world that they're making it real. Like the Jaws poster, I think, is in one of the kids' rooms as well. Too.
It is.
You know what I mean? So like,
you should have.
Winona,
of course. You should have seen. So was it last week? I think it was. I'm just having fun. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't ruin the show or anything. It's just an interesting observation, right? And so I shared a screen picture of Eddie in the Michael Myers mask, right?
Oh,
and with big hair and everything, right?
Hairdo,
now it's clearly a Tots mask. I think it's a '78 Tots mask. So I made a post and I said I was being coy, and I'm kind of like, well, not really coy, but I was being kind of like, cute, right? I'm like, what's wrong with this picture here? That Michael Myers mask didn't exist in 1986. Blah blah blah.
No,
right?
It did not.
Well, get this.
Not even close.
Well, get this. So that post on my Facebook page was shared about 25 times. And it was shared over on somebody's horror page or whatever. And you should have seen. Now, to be fair, these are maybe people that don't know who I am. That's fair. But you should have seen the comments and the people that were
they want to kill you
because they completely missed the joke. I had people saying, "Oh, are you on crack? Michael Myers existed in 1986. That mask was around in 86, but not that mask, but a Michael Myers mask, right? Halloween came out in 78. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading this because a viewer of mine had sent me the link. So I'm sitting there and I'm reading this and I'm like, you guys can't be this dense.
No one's getting the joke. Well,
you can't be this obtuse. Like I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, guys, I'm talking about how that mask didn't exist. I'm not talking about Michael Myers or Halloween or Halloween 2. Oh my God, there were like 20 people who were like, you're dumb. You're this. Are you on? I'm like, what the? So I had to make another. I didn't have to, but I chose to make another post going, the point, the joke. Come on, people. Seriously? It was really funny. It was actually really funny.
The Don Post mask that Dave and I had as kids wasn't even remotely close to what they let Eddie and Max wear in Stranger Things.
And
we didn't get any, and anyone who grew up in the 80s, that for a fact, okay? Mm-hmm. We're not saying that Michael didn't exist, but the masks that I have behind me and what I use for my pictures and what Dave has, we didn't have anything remotely close to that.
And listen, it makes sense why you would use something modern because something modern looks very much like Michael Myers. The Don Post's mask didn't back then. Nothing. So if Max showed up in season 2 wearing that, sure, Halloween fans might, but the average who would probably think it was Jason, like they all thought we were Jason. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Anyway, I just was being fun. I was trying to be fun, and I had all these people going, who thought I was talking about Halloween or the character of Michael. And I'm like, what? Come on. What? You guys can't be this dense. I'm not talking about that. I clearly said him. Anyway, it was really funny. It was really funny.
It's the toxicity of, I'm fully convinced.
And then people wonder why I'm like a gatekeeper for nuance. Like, come on. There's where nuance should have been instilled.
I'm fully convinced now that if we had social media back then, toxicity would have been running wild because Well, no, because even with this Metallica thing, okay, with this opening up the door to new Metallica fans and younger generation. Not saying that younger generation didn't know who Metallica was, but a lot of them didn't. And using Master of Puppets in that scene has generated some new fans because of the show. And fucking Metallica has to release a fucking statement to tell fucking the core hardcore fans who've been around since the 80s to more or less politely tell them to shut the fuck up, that they're welcome here. They can be fans of us and listen to our music, because it's the funny thing with these older people who are bitching about it right now.
Yes.
You'll sit there and complain about how music sucks today. Yeah. Okay. And all this nonsense, and that the shit that kids are listening to is garbage. But then when they turn to the music you listen to, you fucking now call it cringe, and you're making fun of it, and you're calling Metallica sellouts for having fun, so much that the band has to address it. That just solidified that the toxicity would have been running wild even back then if social media was around, because these are grown adults that are mine and your age doing this. And I made it a point even a long time ago, growing up, with my father, who was a DJ, and that being all exposed to me, and then, listening to his music and my mom's music of the, the 50s, the 60s and 70s, and my own music of the 80s and 90s. I made a conscious decision then to not be that guy. To sit there and be like, oh, today's music sucks. I don't listen to today's music because I can't relate to it. You know what I mean? I'm 43 years old. I can't relate to a 20-year-old music artist that's out there. Is Machine Gun Kelly good? Yeah. Do I like him singing with Motley Crue? Not really, but I'm not going to bitch about it. You know what I mean? Because Motley Crue's got an arsenal of music that I'm going to love and enjoy. And if they just did one song together, that's fine. But I'm not going to become a Machine Gun Kelly fan and listen to Machine Gun Kelly's music. But I'm not going to hate on it too. And I just I sat there this week and I'm like, I can't believe Metallica has to fucking release, this is how stupid we've become as a culture, that they've got to release a statement to tell older fans chill the fuck out. You know what I mean? And it's just no, I'm glad. The only thing is, I'm glad we didn't have social media back in the day, that we could enjoy it without bullshit.
I just don't understand.
We would have been dealing it.
I just don't understand. And maybe, and this is, it's rhetorical, but I guess I should say it never ceases to amaze me how emotional people get. I made a tweet today where I said, you could say to me online, Dave, so your favorite horror movie's Halloween, right? I'd be like, yep, it's my favorite horror movie. 1978. Yep, my favorite horror movie. Yeah, well, I think it's a fucking piece of shit. I think it's boring. I think it's dated. I think it's a snooze fest. I think it's overrated. And I don't think it's scary at all. And I'd go, okay, well, I disagree, but okay. And then I'd go make myself a sandwich and go on with my day. I don't understand why people get so what is God?
Buddy,
Jesus, man. Who cares?
One of my favorite stories, Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor on Smallville. You got to find this story because it's hilarious. Yeah. It's hilarious how he diffused it right away too. A guy literally stood in line, at one of these con conventions, and their lines, the Smallville lines tend to be relatively long. People could be standing there for 3 hours just to get to him and Tom Welling, who played Superman on the show, or Clark Kent. A guy when it was his turn, after paying, I don't know if you pay, I don't know how all that works. He stood in line, got up to to Rosenbaum, and he looks at him. He says, I just came here to tell you that Gene Hackman is the greatest Lex Luthor of all time. And Rosenbaum just goes, I agree. And the guy goes, oh, and walks away. It's like, I'd sit there and be like, bro, you just stood in line for however long you did just to tell Michael Rosenbaum, Gene Hackman's the best Lex Luthor. And
the crazy thing is, the crazy thing is when I, and I don't do it very often, but every now and then, and it's usually on Twitter. I will get tagged in something, or I'll see something, Halloween related, or there'll be another debate going on, or Halloween Resurrection, and there's, whatever it is, right? And I'll just, if I have some time, I'll just scroll, and I'll watch from a distance. I'm watching from a distance, and I'm watching people arguing back and forth, and I sit back and I think, this can't be people my age. Like and like, again, that's my first thought.
It's sad, isn't it?
It is. It's my first thought. My first thought is, you know, this can't be like, it's so, what's your end game? Like what, like you're just going to argue and fight until you exhaust yourself out and fall asleep in the fetal position? Like, I don't understand. Like, I get, you know, a spirited debate or exchanging a few tweets back and forth, kind of, you know, having some fun, saying, well, I think, well, you know what, that's a good point, but I think that's, but I go, this has to be kids, children. It has to be people under the age of 25 that have grown up in the digital age. And I sound like a get off my lawn old man. I'm only 43, but I sound like, dude, I realize but I realize to a certain generation, we're going to sound like that. But, you know, and we're not old. I'm not saying that we're old, but we're old enough that there is this, I look back and I go, you can't be this, like you can't, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Why do you, who cares if somebody doesn't like a movie you like? Who cares? You know, well,
and it's like, and the reason why I don't think you're doing anything wrong is because we can't even have 5 fucking minutes nowadays, 5 minutes just to enjoy something that was a cool moment in the show, which was when Eddie was wailing on the guitar to Master of Puppets.
That was great.
One, the reason why they chose that is because this takes place at the end of March of 86. Master of Puppets had just come out at the beginning of March of 86.
Right.
Plus it obviously fits the story.
Of course.
That, you know, of when you listen to the lyrics,
yes.
So it fits the narrative, what they're telling. It coincidentally just happens that the timing of it is when Master of Puppets had come out.
Right.
And it's considered Metallica's, you know, best album, although Kill 'Em All is probably my favorite of then Ride the Lightning and then Masters. Right. Basically in order of release. But we can't even have it. That's why when Kills came out last year, Halloween Kills, I didn't go on social media. I wanted to enjoy it for a week without having to talk to, like in my text messages to you. Yep. All of them to you were very positive. I wanted to enjoy it. I wanted to have 5 fucking minutes to enjoy this movie, not talk about and not get, you know, involved with this online fucking toxicity of like, this sucked, that sucked, you know what I mean? And it's just, I feel like that's what Metallica was saying. Like, guys, chill the fuck out. Let's just enjoy this for 5 fucking minutes. It was a cool scene. It was a great choice of song for the story that was being told in that moment. You know, I loved it when Max was running through the house, which, by the way, that house is here in Georgia.
It is
in Rome, Georgia.
Yes.
It does not. It's not abandoned. It's in
yes.
mint condition.
Yeah. No,
it's a beautiful,
it's used for
house.
It's used very much like the house we used in It's Me, Billy.
Yeah, it's used for movies.
It's used for movies. Yes. It's used for weddings. Yeah. It's used for receptions. Yeah, same kind of thing, which makes sense. It's gorgeous.
It just, you know, so that's why I was saying before, like, dude, we don't appreciate shit anymore. I mean, maybe we never did as a culture. And like I said, maybe, you know, like I said, I firmly believe now if social media had existed for us in the 80s, we'd be saying the same shit, because these are grown ass men who are complaining about these young kids, you know, coming onto the you know, Metallica's, you know, feed, you know, the last couple posts, you know, recently here, because they've been the hot, you know, like Kate Bush was a few weeks ago with Running Up the Hill. And you got all these like older fans pissed off about it. It's like, well, dude, like, I mean, come on, man. Like, there's a reason why I only mix old school music on my Instagram account, is because I want younger generation to be exposed to our music as well too. They have their music. Yeah. They're listening to their music, but there's so much great music out there. And I think it's fucking great that there could be some 20-year-old kid who's a fan of Stranger Things that now is a fan of Metallica because of Stranger Things. Sure. That's fucking awesome. That's what you want to have.
The internet, I agree. And the internet is just, it's because there's no screening process, right? Like, the internet is not a place where you go, okay, you have to take an IQ test. Okay. And everybody, you know what I mean? Like, and I don't mean, listen, I know what I'm about to say is going to sound really condescending and pretentious. Oh, Dave's condescending, you know, pretentious. I don't mean it that way. I'm just saying that the internet has allowed everybody from all walks of life to be able to post their shit and get into shit. And, you know, I mean, half of the people that message me, that call me probably are like, just, and I say this with all due respect, probably are just the real scum bottom feeding barrels of society. Do you know what I mean? That's not to say that there aren't people that don't like me either. I'm just saying that some of the messages I get and some of the things, and I've been, I don't have time for this. Like what
I delete
what
it.
is
I
this?
delete.
Oh yeah, same.
Delete.
Same.
Delete.
Same. I never respond to that stuff. It's just it's so what it is that it's just so. Anyways, it never ceases to amaze me the waste of time, the time that is being wasted online arguing.
It's like a no-win situation.
Well, that's what I mean. You're never going to listen. I don't like Halloween 5. You're never going to convince me to like Halloween 5.
But Dave!
But if you like Halloween 5, shouldn't that be all that matters? Do you know what I mean? Like, shouldn't that be all that matters? You like it and find other people that like it and share in that. That's great. I'm never going to tell you that you're an idiot for liking it. I'm not going to say that. It just wasn't for me. I didn't like it because of this. Anyways,
no, but it's just, it's like I said with those 40-year-old or however 40, there could be even in their 50s. Because don't forget, you and I mean, I started listening to Metallica probably like late 80s. You know, is when I started getting into their music. I didn't get into their music right away. It was actually friends of mine who introduced me to them. And Kill 'Em All is just like from start to finish. If you love rock and you love metal, if you like working out and you just want to fucking get yourself amped up from start to finish, Kill 'Em All is just a phenomenal album. It's their first album, but. You and I were just kids. So I gotta believe these are men in their fucking 50s.
Well,
okay. I mean, like they gotta be in their, because we're just basically babies in the 80s. You know what I mean?
Oh, I see. It depends on what the content is. It's being argued
because
over.
I could tell by just scrolling through the comments on their Instagram account, because I follow Metallica on Instagram.
Right.
I could tell by some of these comments that these are the diehard fans from the 80s who started off with them with Kill 'Em All and Ride the Lightning and Masters of Puppets and Injustice for All and the Black Album, which are the only 5 albums I own by Metallica. Yeah. I could tell by their tone and the way they're talking that these were teenagers who are now in their 50s, angry at the fact that one minute they're complaining about how today's music fucking sucks and what kids are listening to is garbage, and are now mad that these same kids are being exposed to Metallica and are now becoming fans of Metallica. It's a no-win fucking situation. You're going to complain one minute and then complain the next minute when they like it. Here's
a word. Here's what it's all about.
Well, I got a word that starts with the letter R, but I can't say it. But
no.
Robert Downey Jr. has a famous quote in Tropic Thunder saying it.
I understand, but here's the word. Insecurity.
Yeah, that too.
There are so many insecure people that take everything so personally. I can't tell you. Listen, I've been doing this YouTube thing now for 5 years. And, you know, there was a tweet that Jason Blum made about a week or so ago. Many of our viewers probably saw it, where he was like, I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, Jesus, Halloween fans, you know, you're so harsh. Calm down. He actually said that.
Oh, because of the trailer?
Yes, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm paraphrasing. But he's like, he was like, it's coming. We're working on it. Yes. You know, people. I'm sure some people over the years been like, no, Dave doesn't really get those messages or doesn't really. Yes, we do. Tony, do we?
No.
Yes, we do.
If you guys could see some of the shit that we get. Woo-hoo.
Yes, we do.
I mean, like I said, it got to a point where now I delete. As soon as I kind of get the gist of the first few sentences of, you know, what I'm getting, whether it's an email or whether it's a DM on Instagram, delete. You don't exist.
Yeah.
That's how you got to treat these
people.
But they don't exist.
It's for whatever reason, people just, you know, there's somebody about 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, sent me a link to a Reddit thread that was all about me, about, you know, it was like, do you like Dave McRae? And here's what I don't like about Dave McRae. And I'm like, a Reddit thread? Really?
Dude, I've seen those videos that these guys are going like crazy insane how much they hate you. And I'm like,
I know. But
what the fuck?
But what's so funny is that it just feels like such a waste of time. I don't feel I've said anything that would, it's just, a lot of the times what people don't like is not necessarily what I'm saying. It's how I'm saying it, right? Some people perceive me as arrogant or obnoxious or whatever. It's just, I'm passionate. There was one guy that sent me a message about 6 months ago, maybe, I don't know. And he was like, you know, you're always spewing this like it's the gospel. And I'm like, no, you're taking it. You're interpreting it like I'm doing that. You know, I'm not saying it. It's my opinions. I'm just but everybody, they see something. I just don't like the way he says something. I just don't like the way he's so loud. I don't like the way he sounds so forceful, like he's telling me I'm wrong. I've never told anybody you're wrong. You're taking it that way. It's not my problem, man. It's not my problem. Not once have I ever said, I'm the greatest filmmaker of all time. I know everything there is to know about everything in this business. I've never said that. I've never said that. I just have used my experience that I know to kind of maybe fill in some gaps for people and kind of talk about what I like. That's it. But I just don't like the way he says that. Well, it's like, oh God, it's so funny. When I was reading this Reddit thread about me, I'm reading this and I'm going, this is hilarious.
You got to make a video on that one.
I don't want to give. I just don't want to give it unnecessary attention. But
oh, that's true. Good point.
But
yeah.
I thought it was funny because I'm like, people are wasting their time giving opinions on me when they could be talking about other juicy stuff like Halloween ends or whatever. I'm like, who cares? Like, what is it? It's children. It has to be fucking children. Like, I just don't, I would never waste, I've never taken.
Think, right? You would think it's children.
You would. And I have never in my life felt the need to take to the internet to express my distaste and vitriol, if I ever had any, like calling some actress a racial slur or whatever.
There, vitriol.
Vitriol, yeah. I mean, of course, I've taken to the internet and my videos to vent and talk about my opinions, but I've never felt the need to like hound a celebrity or go after somebody. I'm like, who are these people that do this? Children, they have to be.
I know.
It makes no. It's crazy to me. It's a world. It's crazy. You open up the internet and everybody and they're fucking. I just picture these people with the IQ of 7. I hate to say it. I'm sorry, I do because I just don't understand how else you would. It's just a waste of time. When I get off here, I'm living life. You know, I don't want to. It's just crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy. It's crazy, but
I know we got kind of sidetracked.
Yeah, we did a little bit. My apologies. What else is new? Hey, this is the bullshit part of our show.
Right? The point of this is that if you were someone, and there's a lot of people who don't know who Metallica is. There's a lot of young people who didn't know who Metallica was or didn't know their music. If you who are watching this tonight, if you are one of those people who are now exposed to the band, they're a great band. I think it's fucking awesome. Music is music. I love music. It's a big part of my life. Mm-hmm. I can't recommend it enough. The Kill 'Em All album is a phenomenal album. Ride the Lightning is a great album. Obviously, Masters of Puppets. You know, I get it. Stranger Things. The connection there. Not a big fan of Injustice for All. I like One. Obviously, that was their first music video too. Back in the 80s. And then the Black Album. I can't recommend it enough. I think it's great. I think it's great that they've exposed their music to a new generation of fans. And like they said, everyone's welcome to the Metallica family. It's just unfortunate that they even had to say something. You know what I mean? Like, yes. Oh, it is. It is. No, it is. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate. Adam Fink here says, Dave, be happy you're living rent free in their head. Yeah, I've never. I think what it is that I've never watched anybody. I've never, that has bothered me or rubbed me the wrong way so much that I felt the need to take to, some forum or whatever and talk about it. And I'm just like, really? Like it doesn't, and I thought it was hilarious. I mean, you guys know me. I always live by the motto that, the question is not, do they like you or hate you? The question is, are they watching you? And clearly they're watching me. And even people who don't like me watch me. So, at the end of the day, I'm like, hey guys, sorry you don't like me, but you can turn the channel, you don't have to watch me. But it's funny stuff. It is really funny to read some of that stuff because I was like, I was laughing. Like I was busting. I'm like, wow, I made it to Reddit. Wow, this is great. Hey man,
I love it. It's so fun.
I know you got some super chats
let's
rolling in, but is there anything else we want to cover? Did we cover everything for the show?
I mean, look, I mean, again, we're not formally reviewing.
No,
we're just talking about our thoughts and our opinions and stuff. And but comment below and let us know what your thoughts are on Volume 2.
Did we get everything? Did we miss anything?
I think so. I mean, we talked about Will, we talked about Eddie, we talked about Max, we talked about Joyce and Hopper.
We kind of glazed over the showdown between Vecna and 11.
I guess so, but but it was epic. I mean, it was really good. I enjoyed it.
Not much.
It was an epic showdown. We talked about her and Papa and that dynamic being hopefully resolved. I guess, I mean, where it kind of ended up and, with
what we think season 5,
what our kind of thoughts are maybe moving forward. I mean, again,
we got everything
in a typical two dudes and some bullshit kind of way. Yeah. I think we did. But comment below and let us know your thoughts on Volume 2 of Season 4 of Stranger Things. Do you agree with a lot of the things we talked about here today? Do you not agree with a lot of things we talked about here today? Comment below and let me know your thoughts. Let's go over to the Super Chats and the chat room and see what you guys are saying. Send those. Where am I here? Where am I here? That's what I said. Where am I here is what I meant. There I am. There I am. Comment below and let us know your thoughts. And now send in those questions if you have them. Okay, here we go. We're going to start with Matthew Farisi sends in $9.99, says, almost perfect, but Max should have died. Maybe even one other character on top of that. Would have been one of the most emotional scenes ever. They played it a bit safe, but still 9.9 out of 10 episode. Agree.
I think one more main character would have been tough. I think Eddie sucked. Max would have been the big devastation. I think if they had done 2, that would have been two main
I agree. I think
not counting Eddie, that would have been 1 too many. Because I think you would have needed to allow fans to absorb the loss of Max.
Yeah, I think if you do Eddie, then you either do Max or Steve. Like you would either do one of those two.
Yes.
And
not both.
They kind of didn't do either. But we'll see where Max is in season 5. Cody Snyder, my man, sends in $5, says, just goddamn, give us Eddie back. Well, maybe if they do that little time thing.
If they do the time reset we talked about, Eddie might be back.
Matthew Farisi sends another $4.99. Thank you, Matthew. Says, as a 29-year-old, I appreciate Tony's comments. Everyone needs to grow up, not just one age group. We all are going off the deep end nowadays. It's true. It's true. I get tagged in shit, I guess, because people will, like if there's a debate happening about, like, that's why I made the post today I did over on Twitter about Halloween, because I was tagged in some debate going on about Halloween or something. I read like a couple of things. I'm like, I don't have time for this. And that's why I said, listen, you could tell me that Halloween, you could make fun of Halloween. You could say it's dog shit. It's not scary and all those things. It wouldn't bother me. Like I would disagree, obviously. And I might say something like, oh, well, I disagree because I think because of this, and this, that it's great, whatever. But I wouldn't get so emotional about it. Like there are people that I'll see be like, will make tweets that I'll just be like, I don't care what anybody says. I like this. And, fuck you all or whatever. And I'm just like, good. You shouldn't care what anybody says. Like, doesn't matter. Like, why do you feel the need to, like, it's like, God, we're losing it. The society, we are losing it in movie fandom online. It's crazy.
That's why I love the fact on my Instagram accounts, I and people who follow me know, and you look at on my Instagram stories, I don't share anything movie. This is it. When I do the show with you, this is my moment where I'll talk to people, answer questions with you. It's one day a week. I will give up my time to do that. But when I'm done with the show, I'm so separated and detached that I'm so glad that I don't have to deal with it, see it, get in the middle of it. Because I don't want to I don't have time for that shit. It's just,
I think, I agree. I guess there's.
Well, it's like the Elvis movie. I didn't talk about it online seeing it.
Right.
I only talked about it on the show
right.
2 weeks ago.
Right.
You know what I mean? I didn't talk. Because I don't want to. You know what I mean? I don't want to get into it anymore.
Yeah.
And if we're going to talk about it on here, that's entirely different. That
right.
I'm mentally preparing myself to talk about the Elvis movie with you on here.
Right.
I'm not going to do that shit anymore on social media. That's why I've backed away from it.
I know.
I don't get into that stuff because I don't want to open up that door.
I think what it is, listen, there's probably a lot of reasons, but I think there's just too many people that spend too much time in the oasis, because that's what this is. No, but that's what this is. I mean, it is.
You're right.
It is.
No, you're right.
It is. That's
Bang
what.
on, dude.
This is the oasis, and this isn't real. It's not real. Right now, what you're watching isn't real. It's a form of virtual reality in from a certain point of view. And it's just going to evolve from here. Like eventually, right now you're watching us on a little pocket computer that people still call their phones when we don't really make phone calls with them. But you're watching us on a little device right now. You're watching us on this little thing right here. And, you're scrolling and you're chatting and you're locked in. You're dialed in. You're locked in. It's like you have the headset on, right? You're dialed in, you're locked in, and it's not going to go back. Right? Like we're only going to advance from this point forward. So where are we going to be in another 20 years? You guys could be sitting in a room with us. Like it could be a point where you're
crazy.
Like you're actually in the room with us and you're hanging out here. Like I'll never forget when I saw that interview with Spielberg when he was doing press junkets for Ready Player One. And he said, look, no, obviously we're, as we see it in the movie, we're not quite there yet. But he said, it's not as far off as you think. Like the technology and that kind of thing that you see in the movie, it's not like, hundreds of years away or anything. It's not, we could see this kind of thing at the very least, the beginning stages of that kind of thing in our lifetime. And that's crazy because technology expands exponentially, right? It just continues to expand and expand, faster and faster and faster. And so it's crazy. And I think a lot of the times people are just constantly dialed in and it becomes so real to them and they get so emotional and attached and rah! And then there's people like us that are kind of like, whoa, dude, what? It's okay.
Chill.
I mean, there's so many people, you're so obnoxious because you don't like Halloween 5. No, you think I'm obnoxious because I say Halloween 5 is dog shit. And I say it very loud, and people are like, oh, you just don't like what I say. That's all. You don't know me. You have no idea who I am or how I am away from all this. You don't know me at all. You know what I mean? It's just...
Dude, right around when you and I met, when I was doing YouTube channels, I remember having those... I mean, with complete strangers under fucking...
It's crazy, isn't it?
Some I think were fake accounts. Some I think may have been real accounts. But I'm sitting here, I'm defending Halloween 4 as if like it has some life meaning.
Yeah.
That it's got some greater purpose, that it's going to like cure fucking cancer. Like literally, I'm having that type of argument with someone
I know.
Right now. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do this shit. And that's when I started saying goodbye. And then that's when I opened up the idea to do this with you, because I was like, this is not what I'm signing up for. Fuck this. I'm out.
And like we always say, 99% of everyone is great. Like there's no issues, right? You know what I mean? There's no issues. But it's just, I always laugh. I always get a giggle. And maybe that would just piss the people off more that don't like me. But I sincerely always get a giggle when I see such emotion over something that I think is just so trivial at the end of the day. Like I had a good laugh reading that, Reddit thread. I was sitting there thinking, this is great. This is hilarious. Fucking a pompous piece of goddamn pretentious content. And I'm like, this me? Like, I mean, who am I? I'm like, what? It's really funny. I find it funny. Of course, they probably get angry at that now that I find that funny. You find that funny? They probably get angry at that now. No, anyway, it's just a never-ending cycle. It's so bad. It's so bad. Okay. Let's go here. Let me see here. Mohammed Nabil, my man, Mohammed Nabil sends in 50 United Arab Emirates bucks, whatever that is.
Dollars.
Thank you, buddy. 50 of them. Thank you.
Whatever.
Says, hi, Dave and Tony. Sorry if it's off topic, but what are your what are your thoughts on the movie Awakenings with De Niro and Robin Williams? Also, which edition of The Exorcist do you prefer, theatrical or extended? Well, first of all, The Awakenings is a fantastic movie.
Amazing movie.
If you want to see Robin Williams in a serious role where he knocks it out of the park.
And not just 1 hour photo, but like, kind of like in the Good Will Hunting type, role.
Yeah. Awakenings is
really good.
Fantastic movie. Yeah. Which do I prefer?
And even De Niro's performance.
Yes, 100%. The Exorcist, theatrical or extended?
Oh, my baby. It's my all-time favorite horror movie.
Well, the theatrical cut doesn't have the spider walk down the stairs.
Correct.
And so
I have both.
Yes, I have both. I would have to go, and there are Exorcist purists. Yeah, I've talked to them. We have one sitting here right now, Tony Michael. I don't know if are you an Exorcist purist or do you prefer because I
do prefer the VHS that I have, which is the original I do prefer. There's a sentiment, but there's more of a sentiment, right? You know what I mean? Right. It's more of like I love just the tangible of putting the Exorcist in my VCR and watching the VHS version that I have. But I love the extended, love it because of the spider walk and the shit that I had heard about that I'd never seen. And then when I finally got to see it, when the extended came out,
yes.
I had heard about the spider walk, in articles like, Fangora magazine, this actually would have been on the internet too, like the pre-web page days. And you would hear about these stories of scenes that were filmed, but I had never seen them. So, but I enjoy both of them, but my heart's going to be with that original.
Yeah. And I understand that, completely understand that. The Exorcist is definitely one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I just did a video on my channel talking about the upcoming sequel from Blumhouse and David Gordon Green next year.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, so, but I do. It's one of my favorite. Like it would be a top 5 for me? It might be a top 5 for me. It might be. It's definitely top 10 for sure. Easily. And it might even slip into the top 5 for me, depending on the day or the year or how I'm feeling. But anyway, I can't say that I'm I was going to say Halloween. I can't say I'm an Exorcist purist because then that would mean that I would have to like the theatrical cut. I actually really do prefer. There's certain things in that extended cut I actually quite like the spider walk. I think it's very creepy. And even it's very creepy. One of the creepiest moments in the film. I think it ends too soon, but it's good.
And there's shots of when you see Pazuzu. Yeah, Pazuzu, right?
Pazuzu. P.
Pazuzu.
P. Yeah, P.
Pazuzu.
Pazuzu. Your mother sucks cocks in hell. Whoa!
Right, when you see his face on the
oh yes, yeah, kind of just
in the kitchen. You don't see that in the theatrical. You don't, and it's unnecessary. But I don't mind it. It's not bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, look, when it comes, and to be clear, we're talking about ranking horror movies. Yes, The Karate Kid is my all-time favorite movie.
Right.
Horror, The Exorcist is at the top of the list. It's my favorite.
Yes.
And again, like, and when I'm watching it on VCR, I feel like I'm watching a film on film.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yep. Like the way it was meant to be presented.
Well, yeah, because if you watch The Exorcist, and this bothers me, and I get it, I understand, but
that's what I was going to say. You
know what I'm going to say.
The levitation. Yeah.
When you watch
see the wire.
When you watch The Exorcist on Blu-ray or 4K, has The Exorcist been released on 4K?
I don't know.
I'm not sure. But when you watch it on Blu-ray, that levitation scene, you can see the wires lifting Reagan up. And it's just because it's the process of transfer, because it was never shot in HD. So they are actually doing an HD transfer, and they are, whatever they do, I'm not an expert in that, I have no idea, but whatever they do to make it look HD, they are removing a lot of the masking that they had done to take the wires out, and they don't spend the money or the time to redo that. I guess it would, I don't know, it cost too much or something. I have no idea. I'd like to speak to somebody who knows all about that, because it does take me out of it. It looks beautiful. in terms of the picture quality. But when you get to that scene, I mean, I would never want to show somebody who has never seen The Exorcist before in their life, I would never want to show them the Blu-ray version of The Exorcist, because it's going to get to that iconic scene. Well, the power of Christ compels you, and they're going to be watching this moment, and they're going to see those wires, and they're going to be like, you know what I mean? Like, it's unfortunate.
They do have the extended cut on VHS. You can get
yes, I have it. I have it.
Okay. Yeah. I have the original, and then I have the extended on. Yeah. And on the extended on the VHS where she does the spider walk, and when she's levitated, you don't see the wire.
No, that's right. That's right, because you're still because you're not watching a high definition film.
Right.
So
although at the time we thought it was like high definition. It's like, well, oh, this is cool.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. But now, I don't mind watching The Exorcist on Blu-ray because I know it's there. You know what I mean? And so I know when you get to that part, you can see, you know, and I'm like, oh, that's disappointing. But I would never show, like, I don't know, my friend Bob, who's never, I want to watch The Exorcist, Dave. Okay, I don't want him to see that shit. You know, I'm like, I don't want him to see these wires. Like, what the hell's going on? It's unfortunate. But does not take away from the fact that it is a great movie. Let's see here. Jose Reyes sends in $1.99, says, to both of you, what did you think of the score to Stranger Things season 4? I thought it was really good.
Like the remix.
You mean like the score, like the instrumental score with the synth stuff, or like some of the songs that they chose? I thought all of it was great.
Oh yeah, especially I like the newer remix version of the theme. I thought was really cool at the end.
Yes, yeah. I love, and I've said this. I think I might have said this on our last show. We were talking about this, Volume 1, but it is I've just been, again, myself and my lady are watching season 1 again, and we never skip that intro because the music is so that music. Looking back at this time 20 years from now, that music will be, and probably is already, but certainly it needs that time to kind of gain that cult, or that sort of that classic status, even though it's well on its way. That will be just as classic as the original Doctor Who theme, you know, or
the Halloween theme.
Or yes. I mean, for a certain generation, especially, like if you were like a kid when you grew up with, like, The Goonies is nostalgic for us, right? If you were like 15 watching Stranger Things for the first time and you fell in love with it, when you get to our age, the Stranger Things theme is going to be iconic to you. It is a fantastic theme. Again, it encapsulates perfectly that time period that, you know, Spielberg's, not necessarily, but like King and Carpenter, and it does. It's got that Doctor Who, like I'm talking old Doctor Who, like, you know, 60 dun 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 dun, you know, that kind of. It's got that vibe to it, and intentionally so. Of course, that's what they were going for, that kind of, you know, synth, that kind of sound, right? And it's fantastic. I love that score. I want to get the sound. Do you have the soundtrack on vinyl?
Oh yeah.
Fuck, you lucky bastard. I want to get it on vinyl. The first season, I think Amazon's got it for like 60 something bucks Canadian, because it's too.
I got that like when it first came out on vinyl, like when they first released it here. That was one of the. I remember the day I beelined it in Target and was like, "Come on, you're coming home." 2 records, right? Yes, 2 records. Yeah, I want to get it. Now it could cost you a little. It only cost me when I got it. I think it was like $30 when I bought it.
Yeah, it's like 64 on Amazon or something like that.
I can see that.
Yeah, like it's not like I really don't want to spend that much on a album, but I'm like, but you know.
Well, especially because if you're not a collector like I am.
No, and I'm not, right? You know, like I have some vinyl, but I'm not a collector. So that's why I'm kind of like, But then again, I'm like, I really want that fucking soundtrack. So
it's a great soundtrack. I mean, it's the closest for you and me anyways.
Yeah.
It's the closest that I'm going, especially that first season.
Yeah.
Not to rehash what you said, but it's the closest I'm going to get to time travel because of how much they nailed it of what life was like for us back, minus the sci-fi part, just the general.
Oh, speak for yourself, man. I get it.
Well, actually, no. When we were kids, young, like that age, there was a building nearby you know, there were rumors that, oh, you know, like stories, you know what I mean? So like, and I think everybody had that in their town, like that one mysterious building that you would hear all these fabricated bullshit, made up stories that reality was just like an office center where people were going to do customer service work or some shit. But we had one in the area, and you know, stories would get passed around of, you know, straight, you know, like they're doing this in there and they're doing that again, and you know what I mean?
Like when
so there's that relatability.
Right. And when in my tweet, like again, earlier today, I made a tweet where I said, season 4 was terrific, but my favorite is still is that original season. It perfectly captures the era for which it was paying tribute to, the imagination, innocence, and wonder of 80s childhood. Well, that's
what it was. That's for us.
Right. That imagination. Now, the imagination in the show came to life, right? But when we were kids in the 80s, we would often play things like that. We'd be riding our bikes around and we'd, you know.
All the toys that we saw in the first season, we had them. We had those toys. Right. You know what I mean?
Yep, for sure. For sure.
So it's the closest to time traveling that we'll ever get to experience, you know, short of someone making an 80s movie that, you know, might, you know, have a similar effect.
I get you. Matthew Farisi sends in $4.99, says, as a Halloween fan, I got to admit that Cody Leach was right when he said our fan base is toxic. Thankfully, they don't exist here. We're a great group. Yeah, they do. Well,
I think everything is toxic now. It's not just one thing.
Yeah, no, it is
everything.
Oh, it is. It is. And it's, you know, it is. And I can speak on this confidently because I know this. It's one of the reasons. I mean, to be fair, Halloween isn't like something that Cody is obsessed about. And he's a movie reviewer, so he likes to steer his channel into a broad range of sort of films. But it's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons why Cody does not talk Halloween on his channel hardly at all, is because a lot of the Halloween fans are ridiculous, are just take things way too personally. You know, the fact that we have to put, or that he had to put a pinned post, it says, or he says in his videos, by the way, these are my opinions. This is my list. You're free to disagree. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, but that's and again, I maybe I'm wrong, because I would like to think people our age are more nuanced because we grew up at a time when there was no internet and there was no social media. And, you know, I would like to think that we are better than that because we get it. And maybe it's this younger generation that is spoiled and they just grow up in the digital sort of realm and you know, but I could be wrong, and I probably am.
I will admit, I will be the first one to admit when I'm fucking wrong on something, I'm fucking wrong on it. I was like that. I thought that this was more of a younger generation toxicity because we never had this shit growing up. But after this week and seeing the shit that was what was going on with Metallica and Stranger Things and seeing the comments that, you know, were coming out on their Instagram with the fan base that, I know by the way they're talking, these are people that are older than you and I, you know, because people forget Metallica came out in the early fucking 80s, you know, and I think Kill 'Em All is either 82 or no, because Ride the Lightning's 84. So Kill 'Em All probably was like 82, 83. Right. So we're talking early 80s here, you know, so if you were a teenager, even then you are well into your 50s now. There's no excuse for there's none. There's zero excuse for acting that way towards a 20-year-old who's leaving a comment on Metallica's Instagram account, how much they loved that moment with Eddie on top of the trailer and the song. And like, there's no excuse for that. And I was definitely naive to thinking that it was just the younger generation doing that. And that solidified that if we had social media as kids growing up, they would have been acting the same fucking way.
No, and I think
100%.
I think you're right. I think you are right. Yep. I think you're right. No, I do. So, I agree with you. Let's see here. Mohammed Nabil sends in another 25, says, I asked this to Dave on one of his other streams, so I'll ask Tony now. Which movie do you prefer, Goodfellas or Heat?
Oh, come on.
It's tough. For me, I think I said it depends on the day. I love both films.
Oh, man, come on. That's
Goodfellas or Heat.
I mean,
it's like picking children.
It's Goodfellas, man. It's but then it's Heat. It's Pacino. It's De Niro. You know,
I know.
Fuck.
I know.
Greatest.
Isn't that the movie where he says that? I think it is.
I think
Greatest.
I will say this, of the two movies, I've watched Goodfellas more. It doesn't mean Goodfellas is better. Is a better movie. I just enjoy watching. I mean, because I love Joe Pesci. I mean, I love not Robert De Niro, Al Pacino as well too.
Yes.
Ray Liotta, rest in peace. You know, we just lost him, which sucks.
It's unfortunate.
You know, he's great. You know, that Italian mob gangster Godfather type movie, you know, I tend to lean, but see, it's kind of, I guess would he be considered the same genre? I don't know. Would you?
It's a gangster movie. It's
yeah. So it's like, I guess that's not a really good.
Well,
comparison.
it's a cop, and yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Goodfellas just for the fact that I've watched it more, but I don't feel that it's a superior movie.
Gotcha. I
got you. I mean, they're both great movies, but yeah, I've watched Goodfellas.
Gotcha. Sweet Tea sends in $10. Says, for the channel, my friends, be safe too. The tea is sweet tonight, ladies and gentlemen, in Florida. That is correct. Thank you very much, Sweet Tea.
Like the rest of us.
Really, yeah, that's right. Really appreciate that. Nate A sends in $5, says, I am very much involved in the fandom, in the Halloween Discord and subreddit. While I try to defend you, it's always... Try to defend me. It's always McRae is a purist or has a big ego. Oh, I love it, Nate. Well, you know what, buddy? You don't have to do that. Right? You have to let people have their opinions. People are making... And it's not like it's lost on me. I do understand why somebody could interpret me as being arrogant or having a big ego or being condescending or, you know, whatever the case is. But it really comes down to, at least I see it, it comes down to the way I relay my information, right? I'm very blunt and loud and very confident in my opinions, and I'm very opinionated. And so sometimes people will interpret that as, oh, he's just this condescending douchebag. And if you feel insecure, or maybe you're not that way, because you could, like, let's say, take Wolfman's Got Nards, right? Barry. Love Barry. He's amazing. But Barry is not as, you know, animated as I am, right? He's not as theatrical, and he's more sort of, you know, calmer and you know, and Barry could say one thing and I could say another, or say one thing and I could say the same thing, but more animated, and I could come across as more of a, I don't know, just the way I'm saying it, I guess, or whatever, right? And there's different strokes for different folks, and that's why there are some people that might tune into this person over here, even though they're saying the same thing as me, but they like the personality better, right? And then there are others that will tune into me because they like my personality. They like the fact that I'm animated and theatrical and silly, but at the same time, I'm not like that every 5 seconds all the time, or I'd have no credibility. I mean, you can't be every, 5 seconds, but do I like to have fun? And do I like to be silly? Absolutely. But yeah, no, I can understand why it depends on your personality and the kind of person you are. You could look at me and go, I just don't like that guy. I just think he's a douchebag with a huge ego, which is not true at all. It's the furthest thing from the truth, but I can understand, depending on who's watching me, they might think that. I get that. Yeah. I understand that, but it's not true. But don't feel like you have to defend me. No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. No, he's not. All these.
I just can't.
I can't believe there's actually a Reddit thread that's like I said, I had a great time reading it. I'm like, are you serious right now? I think it was something like, what was the post? Because I'm not on Reddit. So somebody just sent me the link like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm not on Reddit. But apparently, you don't have to be a part of it to be able to read it, I guess.
I just can't believe you're having a conversation like this. Like,
it's crazy. It's crazy. And listen, hey, we live in a world where people are free to discuss how much they don't like me on Reddit. That's fine. But if people are discussing how much they don't like me on Reddit, hey, I think I've kind of won here. I'm just saying that.
Well, you're living rent free in their head.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
It's like, it's like I thought I was hopeful, but I was wrong once again. I admit when I'm wrong. I thought that
It's
Orange
so
Man,
funny.
I thought the Orange Man would be no longer discussed or talked about once he left the White House.
Oh,
but no,
yeah, no, it's all
he's even talked about more. And I'm just like, oh my
That's-
God, I'm so tired of
that's
hearing
all
his
over
fucking
too.
name.
That's all over
It's
too.
like the dude is living so rent free in a specific group of people's heads. It's like, oh my God.
Well, and like I had mentioned this because Darren and Frank of the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast, the great Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast, will chit chat amongst ourselves sometimes off of YouTube, and I had mentioned that to Darren and Frank, and Darren said, well, you know, there's that great Oscar Wilde quote. I think it's Oscar Wilde. I'm going to paraphrase it now, but he said, Oscar Wilde, I believe, said, the only thing worse than being talked about is being not talked about. I think I said that correctly. It's something like that. Like the only thing worse than being, or is it the only thing worse than being talked about is not talked about? It's something like that. Let me see if I can get, I think it is. The only thing worse than being talked about is not being, yes, it's Oscar Wilde. There is only one thing in life worse than being talked about, and that is not being talked about. You know, and hey, like I said, right, I'm just saying, you want to talk about, just kind of what, make me giggle. Put up another post. I want to have a good laugh. Anyway.
There you go.
But you're right, Tony. The fact that we're having this, it's crazy. It's crazy. People are crazy. People are crazy.
Mind-boggling.
People are crazy. But I do know I'm an acquired taste because I'm very theatrical, right? I'm very animated. So I get it. I totally get it. But I can't stop being me, for God's sakes. All right, let's see if we can get through this here. We're going for like, what are we, 2.5 hours now? Woo!
What's this 2 hours on my end?
Oh, really? The stream says 2:34 for me.
Okay.
So I guess we're going to. Oh, that's because we had the Zoom. Yeah. Anyway. All right. But thank you, Nate. I appreciate the effort. And thank you for the super chat. Muhammad Abil sends in another 50. Thank you, Muhammad. Says, yes, Dave, that Pacino quote is from Heat. Yes. Greatest. I'm definitely going with. Imagine saying that to like your wife or something. Great. I wonder if Al Pacino says that to his wife. I'm definitely going with Goodfellas, but Heat is awesome. Also, I watched the movie Misery today for the first time, surprisingly, and thought it was very good. Oh, Misery is great. And we just lost James Caan.
Sonny.
Oh, Sonny, Paul Sheldon. He was even the bad guy in Eraser. Arnold Schwarzenegger's Eraser. He was in a ton of movies. Yeah. Legendary actor.
Will be missed. Great movies.
Yeah, for sure. That's
so. There's been a few of these comments here. I definitely would like to maybe sort of talk about it.
Oh, okay.
A little bit.
All right. Take it away.
I don't know if the rumors are true, but people are mentioning that the possibility of Michael's look in this film may be very similar to Rob Zombie's in Halloween 2. Which would make sense because unless Michael's going to the barber shop and cutting his hair, he would be definitely long hair hermit looking Michael after how many years have gone by since 4 years, 2022, 2018.
Yeah, 4 years.
So is that true?
Well, okay. So,
well, it would make sense. I mean, I can't hate on the idea because, like I said, unless Michael is doing his own, like what I do and shave my head, or he's going to the barber, his hair would naturally grow and his beard would grow because unless he's maintaining it.
I don't know because I haven't pried or asked. Several of the contacts that I usually deal with have been tighter lipped than they have been in the past. I mentioned this on Twitter today, not on a main post of mine. Somebody had asked me a question and I responded. But since I did respond on Twitter, I'll say it now. Now there's only 95 people watching, so it's not like it's going to, there's too many people going to know about it. But I was given a date, at like a specific day for the release of the Halloween Ends trailer. I was told not to share it. This individual on Twitter asked, well, how come other people say they know the date? Because there's some people saying it's going to be this Thursday. There's some people saying it's not, you know, whatever the case is. How can other people share things and you can't share? And I said, well, it's probably because we're dealing with different people.
And the moment you break the trust with someone, you're never going to get that trust
That's
back.
correct. And there are, you know, they may be dealing with contacts who aren't worried about that. Maybe they have a different relationship. Maybe it's their job, but I don't know. It could be a situation where if I was to share it, it would be because of who I am and who I'm connected to on social media, whatever, it might be very easy to trace it back to where that came from. It might be easy to figure, I don't know. But let's just say that everybody deals with different people. So some people feel confident and some people don't. Sometimes I get info that's just for me. I will often get like a text or a message saying, your eyes only. That's what they'll say, your eyes only. And that tells me that I'm not to share this. And this was one of those things, you know, where it's like, so here's the day. I went, okay, can't share it. So I didn't. I don't know. I know little bits of information about Halloween Ends, but nothing earth-shattering. Nothing worth doing a video on. I haven't heard anything specifically about Michael's look necessarily being that of Rob Zombie's from part 2. So I can't really speak to that. Like Tony just said, I think it's possible that could be a scenario because they are fast forwarding 4 years and maybe he's become this mountain man. And I don't know. I have no idea what they're going to do. Maybe he's going to have several looks in the movie. I don't know. But the one thing I can say, and I think I mentioned this on a stream, either one of our streams or a stream of my own, a couple of months ago, I was told by a specific contact I have, that the film is going to be different. That's what they told me. And of course, John Carpenter has come out and said that it is a bit of he said it's a departure from the previous 2 movies. You have Christopher Nelson on The Thing with Two Heads saying that it is weird and different. So what does that mean? I don't know. I have no idea what that means. It could be a number of things. I don't know, you know, but they didn't elaborate on. I didn't pry because I've actually been quite enjoying not knowing. I knew a lot about Kills before going to see it. No, I mean not like lot, but I knew more than I know about Ends. Enough, yes, exactly. Whereas there's a lot of tight-lipped stuff happening. Even the contacts are, now obviously not everybody's contacts are being tight-lipped because there are people out there that are spreading certain things or talking about things that may or may not be true. I don't know because I don't know about that stuff. But the people I deal with are being very sort of tight-lipped. And these are coming from things like whether it's
Didn't Jamie Lee Curtis say fans are going to hate it or something?
Yeah, she said in some sort of roundabout way. It wasn't like directly like that, but it was in some sort of roundabout way she had alluded to that. But the people I deal with are, I mean, obviously I'm not going to tell you who they are, but there's a couple of them and you know, whether it's the date of a trailer or the what the movie kind of like or whatever, these are people that would be in a position that would know this information. So that's why I trust them. It's not John's cousins, Bob's granddaughters, you know what I mean? Like it's people that would know this.
Credibility.
Yes,
credibility.
100%. They would know this information. But this time around, it's been more tight-lipped, and I appreciate that. I do. I understand it. Now, the real question comes down to, is it more tight-lipped? I think there might be 2 things that are happening. Now, maybe not, but last year we knew everything about Halloween Ends. They showed the whole movie in the trailer and they saw all the kills and all that kind of stuff. So naturally they want to dial it back and they want to be a bit more ambiguous and play their cards close to the vest, which they've done. They've done all, I mean, nothing is really getting, I mean, obviously you get some people that are trying to leak shit, but overall, nothing is really leaking that easily, which is great. I appreciate that. But now it comes down to, okay, and both things could be true, by the way. Both of these things could be true. But are they keeping it close to the vest because they don't want to spoil the movie for you, like how Halloween Kills was kind of, I was all out there. Or, and maybe it's an or because it's different. Well, not necessarily bad, but because I was told it was different. Carpenter did an interview recently where he says it's a bit of a departure. Actually, I can't say a bit. He said it's a departure.
No, he flat out said
it's a departure. I'm trying to soften it, but it's not. He says it's a departure.
And when he says that, my first thought was like, all right.
Yeah. And then you have Christopher Nelson, I believe, saying weird, different. Now, nobody...
That I didn't know until you just told me.
Right.
Didn't know that.
Now,
okay.
Chris didn't say, oh, it's weird and different. He didn't say it like that. You know, Carpenter's words in the article weren't like... That wasn't like that. When I was, when I read the text from my contact about that, it wasn't like, I mean, it's not like he put like a, face palm emoji or anything. It wasn't like that. It was just, straightforward, different, whatever, right? So maybe they're worried about that. Maybe they're worried that if we do know, maybe they're worried that if we don't have it, because it's quite different from what we're probably expecting, they want our asses in the theater first to be able to see it and to know all the juicy details, obviously, so they can make the money, but also to give it a chance. Because maybe if we know a lot about it before, as fandom does, we're going to go to the extreme and we're going to go, here we go, without actually seeing it first.
You're going to pretty much get I do believe you're going to get the gist and the tone in the trailer.
Yeah.
So we'll have a good general vibe of, because if it is, it's hard to mask that, no pun, but it's hard to hide that. It really is. It's hard to hide if you're departing from what we know of Michael and the Halloween movies. It's unless you do what they did in the teaser. You would have to do what they did in the teaser for Kills to really hide and be like, this is all you're getting until October. Well, and you're not getting anything else. That's the only way you're going to mask it, because a typical trailer is 2 to 2.5 minutes. You're going to show Michael in that at some point. You cannot not show him.
But get this. The first trailer for Halloween Ends has been rated now, and it's up on the... what was it? The BC Film Board, whatever it was.
Oh, I don't trust critics.
No, it's not critics. The time of your first Halloween Ends trailer is only 1 minute and 16 seconds.
That's a teaser.
So for all intents and purposes, you would think. So again, I think for those, now I'm enjoying this. I know you're enjoying it. I know a lot of people out there are. But again, for those of you out there that maybe are dying to know, maybe you're not used to this kind of thing, you know what I mean? And you're dying to know more what's going on. Now, again, you can cut 1 minute and 16 teaser or a trailer and show a lot. You can. Yeah. But you can also cut 1 minute and 16, and you can cut a 2 minute trailer and hardly show anything. It all depends on how it's edited and how it's put together. But there's a real possibility. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's rain. It's raining outside. Just like, yeah, it's raining. It's entirely possible that they're going to continue keeping this close to the vest. And you're going to see a trailer. You're going to see some stuff. But by the end of it, it's possible a lot of fans might feel a little unsatisfied, disappointed.
Oh. That I'm fully expecting.
Yes, for sure.
Whether it was a 5-minute trailer or a 1-minute trailer, there's going to be fans that are going to not be satisfied.
But I'm very curious. I'm very curious to know. Yeah, I'm very curious to know what this is going to be, man.
I will say this, to quote Heath Ledger from The Joker, I'm a man of my word. I will buy Halloween Resurrection if this is going in the direction I think it's going. Don't worry, I got a contact for a VHS copy. I said, keep it on standby. Yep. I got a feeling I'm buying it.
You got to do it. You got to do it.
Man of my word, and I will keep my word.
Now we have this person here saying CKP.
And that's not saying I want...
No, I get it. I understand.
I hate having to do this, but you have to do it nowadays. Yeah. I'm not saying I want Ends to be bad, or I'm not already saying
No. Yep. I get it.
But as a Halloween fan and the things that are being said, I have a right to be like,
I get it.
Hey,
now,
come on,
CKP says, bro, Halloween 2018 was a departure from 78. They're willing to go further. Well, here's the thing. Halloween 18 was David Gordon Green's 78.
Yeah,
and I've heard him kind of talk about that kind of thing. Halloween Kills is very different from Halloween 78. When I read the John Carpenter quote, I don't get the impression that they are going back to something familiar. I get the impression when I listen to David, read the Carpenter quote, when I watch The Thing with Two Heads, I finally got around to watching that the other day. And Nelson, he said, weird and different. And then of course I think about what my contact told me. I think if it was a matter of just going back to the familiar, they would just say that. They would just say, no, because it's not, I just don't think that's worthy of keeping secret. I know there's well, maybe they want a surprise and keep, you just wouldn't use words like departure, different, and weird. You wouldn't say that.
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 was a departure and weird, and we all know.
Correct. Now, not saying it's going to be Rob Zombie's part 2, but I think this is whatever, and maybe we'll watch it, and the weird and the different will work for us. We'll go, no, actually, this is really good. This was really, really well done. That's entirely possible.
Hey, maybe right. They're taking a chance to try something to breathe some fresh life, in the finale here, and maybe it works.
Maybe you never know. You never know. All right.
I just got a feeling Carpenter is probably not feeling this movie. If I were sitting down right now next to him, besides him being a grumpy old man, he'd be like, I don't like this shit.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just picture that's what he would be telling
but
me.
Nobody who works on the film is going to say that. But I think it could be.
I will say this though.
I think it could be both.
I will feel for Andy Matichak or Machik, however she pronounces
Matichak, I think.
Because I really have enjoyed her character. She's definitely up there as far as she's in Rachel, and you know how I feel about Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
She's in Rachel status for me.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel from Halloween 4. That's the reference for those who want to know. I hope it ends on a positive for her, and because she deserves that. She deserves this finale to go out on a high note, a strong note.
Yeah.
Like I said, I appreciate the 2018 film now. I appreciate it more because of Kills, because I like Kills. I know there's a lot of people who don't like Kills, but I enjoyed Kills. I'm not here to get into a 9-hour debate on, the things that people, the hospital scene and Evil Dies Tonight stuff. Yeah, I get that, but there's a lot of shit in movies that are bad. You know what I mean? That I enjoy.
That's fair.
But I appreciate the 2018 film now even more so because of Kills.
Right.
I want to be able to say, I appreciate Kills and the 2018 film even more so because of Ends. And I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know, dude. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we're not long away now. The trailer is imminent.
I think the Kills teaser was all of about a minute and change, right?
Yeah, and they showed a lot.
No, it was just Jamie Lee Curtis doing the voiceover.
Oh, that was
teaser.
That teaser. Yeah.
That's what I was referring to. That teaser was about all, and they could do the same thing for this. They could do like a narrated, voiceover, and you see shots of, empty streets of Haddonfield, and I don't know, maybe like one shot of Hobo Michael. I mean, that's
dude. I mean, it's people are gonna lose their minds if Hobo Michael shows up. You know what I mean? It's gonna. I tell you.
Look, here's the thing. All right, I get what people are saying.
Maybe he'll start talking and singing.
I fully expect. Right.
Just saying.
It depends on if they go like the jacket and everything like that. The way Michael was presented in Halloween 2, I won't like. But if it's just the jumpsuit and it's Hobo Michael and I don't even know what have they addressed the mask? Is it going to be the same mask? Is it?
I don't know. I imagine it will be a similar looking mask. Yes.
Yeah, or a similar looking mask that might be a little bit newer. That maybe
I don't know. I think it'll be the same mask. I think
if they go with the same mask, that mask is covers up enough. It's, whereas you got to remember in Rob Zombie's too, like half the fucking mask was missing in his face. He was looking a lot like Vader here at the end of the Kenobi series.
Yes.
Whereas Kill's mask wasn't quite, it was burnt, but he wasn't missing part of the face. So Michael's face could still be covered so that the hobo thing really won't matter that much. The problem is it's the appearance, the way, Rob Zombie went with the whole, you did see Michael's long hair and the beard, and he was walking around with the jacket and the hood over his head. And like that, that's the shit I didn't like. And then he would put the mask in. I think the scene when he kills Danielle Harris too, if I remember correctly, the hood is up with the mask on. It was just creative decisions that I would never have done with Michael. So the hobo thing may not necessarily be a bad thing. So you got to keep that in mind. Because
look, listen, story, right? So it depends if it serves the story and it makes sense, but at the same time, there's a lot of convincing that will have to be done, right? Because there's an expectation, and you don't want to go too artsy and too, like I said, too avant-garde, right. which just simply means experimental or unusual ideas. I don't know but we'll see. I don't know. The problem is that for somebody like me, Halloween 18 and Kills have not been good enough for me to have confidence that they're going to be able to pull this off. So like naturally for somebody like myself, I feel like you should just keep your hands at 10 and 2 and take her in nice and slow. You know what I mean? And just bring it to a good, satisfying conclusion. If you had knocked 18 out of the park, in my opinion, if you had knocked Kills out of the park and it was fucking wild and amazing, then maybe I'd be like, oh, this is going to be good. They're doing something. Do you know what I mean? But I haven't seen anything that makes me think that. I'm more worried because I'm like, well, I didn't like what you did with Kills. So I'm sitting here going, and now you decide to be experimental?
Right. And what are we talking? Are we talking like Halloween 5 and Halloween 6
right.
experimental?
Right.
Because we saw how that landed with the fans, right? So I'm just saying. And what will piss me off with that is that I will go back to when I was doing, and this was one of the videos that I had made where I took a lot of shit and was fighting with the comment section.
Right.
The whole point of this was to not just to retcon, to bring Jamie Lee Curtis back, but to depart from everything that went wrong after Halloween 4, basically,
right?
With 5 and introducing the thorn and all, they're teetering on basically doing this, repeating the same shit.
Yeah.
They really are when you think about it.
Well,
at the end of the day, everything they said they weren't going to do, they're basically doing.
Well, Jason Blum has said, and Carpenter, and we have to wrap this up here. Jason Blum has said, and Carpenter has said that that this will end. That there will be a definitive ending.
Until Mustafa Akkad says, let's bring it back. Or not Mustafa, but
Malik. Yeah. But it also ends the rights that Blumhouse has. So the rights revert back to Malik, and what he does with it, we don't know. But in terms of, as of right now, the story that David Gordon Green is telling, connected to the 78 original, will have a definitive end, according to John Carpenter and Jason Blum. So
I got a feeling Malik will find a way to bring it back.
I just hope, but I hope it's not this universe. Don't leave that.
If you want to bring back the Jamie Lloyd universe, I'm all ears. You know what I mean? At this point, because it's like, what are we gonna do with Laurie Strode again?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I know.
Do
the 1950s noir.
That too. If you want to start from scratch, I mean, there's. But yeah, I got a feeling, Akkad isn't gonna. It's an easy money maker.
Yeah,
he might let it rest for a few years. But yeah, I got a feeling it won't be. We'll be seeing a new Halloween movie probably by the time we're 50.
Halloween will live again, of course it will. Yeah. But
evil will not die ever.
Right, but Halloween as we know it is apparently going to die with Halloween Ends. There's a difference there, right? So it's not like there are no plans. Of course, things can change. But as of right now, Halloween Ends has a definitive ending. They've said that. No, it ends. It doesn't end on a cliffhanger. It ends. I mean, they didn't say it doesn't end on a cliffhanger. But I'm just saying, yeah, it's a finale. It will feel complete.
Michael will die.
That's
done. Pretty much.
Well, I don't know. But
we don't know that.
But
it'd be great. Imagine if he lives. It'd be awesome. And everybody else dies. That'd be great. Like that would be
maybe. But you know,
you're gonna have fans go, now they've got sequel potential.
I know.
You know what I know. You know what I know. There's a moment there where he's gonna be laying on the ground or something like that, and we're all gonna be like, we're waiting for the eyes to open.
Oh God, I hope not.
Sure enough, that's what will happen.
I know. I hope not. Well, and listen, I don't want to see an 88 Michael walking around, because eventually he's gonna keel over. If you want to start again and reboot the story 10 years down the road or whatever, knock yourself out. But the 1978 legacy, films connected to that, I hope it's done. I hope so. And apparently it is. All right.
We shall see.
That's good. Oh, wait, there's a super chat here that says, Nate A sends in $5, says, wasn't trying to sound like a McRae super fan. Yes, you were, you son of a bitch. No, I'm just kidding. I like not knowing much about Halloween Ends. It's almost like being a Halloween fan back in the 80s and 90s. Could not agree more, Nate. That's what we like about it too, man. That's what we like about it too. And I didn't take it that way at all. I appreciate the super chats though, buddy. Really, really do. All right, that's going to do it for Tony and I here on episode 158 of Two Dudes and Some Bullshit. Comment below and let us know your thoughts if you've made it this far. This is like a 3-hour stream. If you've made it this far, comment below and let Tony and I know your thoughts on Volume 2 of Season 4 of Stranger Things. Did you agree with what we had to say? Did you not agree with what we had to say? Comment below and start the discussion below in the comment section. But with a 3-hour stream, I highly doubt anybody's going to make it this far, but you never know. We'll be back next Monday night at 6 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tony, any last things?
No, this was cool. Had fun.
Yeah, great show tonight. Thank you to our moderators, of course. Frank Reicher, Tap of the Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber. Thank you to the super chat questions. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that, supporting the channel on that level. And Tony and I will be back next week. Alrighty. Sure. Until then, we will talk to you soon.